down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report this Monday, August 21st, 2017. 8th year of Changi, 6-month, 30th day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Sean Moon, second king of Chaniguk. Let's go first to our AccuWeather forecast with Tim, the Agent Elder. Tim.
Good morning. It's going to be a nice day today. And today, of course...
Praise God!
Today, of course, is eclipse day, where the clouds are not going to cover the sun, but the moon will. For overall, though, it's going to be going up to 85 degrees. Right now, it's a clear and 59 with areas of fog in the Chanigung area. So I just want to remind everyone again to be careful and don't burn your eyes out looking at the eclipse. Get some good eclipse glasses. Some people have other ways of looking at it, like, I don't know, but anyway, just at your own risk. Here in the Chanigung area, the eclipse is going to begin at 1:17 p.m. and it's going to reach its maximum at 2:40 p.m. and that's going to be a partial eclipse where and a kind of a crescent will be left there. But if we were to go down to Charleston, South Carolina, it would be a total eclipse there, and people down there, I think, will actually see the stars as long as the cloud cover will allow us. Yeah, you see the stars in the day. Yes. It'd be like nighttime. Yes.
Because it will completely cover it.
It will completely cover the sun.
Now, I heard in Oregon is probably the place with the best view, and there's like incredible car traffic line.
Yes, yes. Well, that's where it's first coming to the U.S., Oregon, and Charleston, South Carolina is the last place.
I see. So Oregon is like apparently it's supposed to be a great place to see 100% visibility.
Yeah.
And wow, so you'll be able to see the stars.
In Charleston, South Carolina.
How rare is this kind of solar eclipse?
Well, so this type of solar eclipse happens every few years, someplace in the world. Everybody's excited about this one because it's the first time since 1918 that a total solar eclipse has gone across the United States from west to east. But there was another one in '79 that just hit a corner of the U.S. But this is the first one that does. And because we're in the internet age now, that sort of increases the excitement.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing. This is relatable to how science is used as a form of mysticism and control, mathematical control. It used to be the mathematicians and the astronomers, by their study of mathematics and astronomy, they would be able to predict certain eclipses and certain lunar events and solar events. And by that, they would have power over the masses and many times over kings.
Yes.
Saying, we have prophecy powers and we know that this, because they would be able to mathematically gauge when the next lunar or solar eclipse comes, and they would say, well, there's a sign that's going to be in heaven where the snake is going to eat and devour the moon, and it's going to devour the sun. And if you don't listen to us, you don't give us more, or whatever.
Well, Mark Twain wrote an article, a novel about this, the Connecticut Yankee at King Arthur's court, where a Connecticut Yankee travels back in time to King Arthur's court, and he gets into trouble. He's about to be executed. He says, wait a second, if you execute me, I'm going to blot out the sun, because he happens to know that somehow he knows that there's a total eclipse happening. And sure enough, the sun gets blotted out, and so he becomes the second most powerful man in the country.
See that? And so the elites, even kings were manipulated and controlled by these astronomers, right? This is like in Aladdin, is like with Jafar. And these magicians that would do sorcery would essentially be able to predict these kind of things, and then create mythological stories around them, saying that, look, there will be great omens, your children will die, and all this kind of stuff. If you don't give us obeisance to us, and blah, 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 and build us this or that, goddess statue or god statue, if you don't build a statue of Guan Yin or whatever, And they would use that to even control kings. And that's interesting because now in the modern day, although those kind of superstitious things, obviously the Bible from 2,000 years ago is warning, do not believe in superstitious things, don't believe in magicians, don't believe in sorcerers. Because the scripture teaches the people of God how to remain free from those kind of traps. And to worship God Almighty, because God, only God, is the creator of these things. And God has dominion over these things. Okay? But in the modern day, the new magicians and the new sorcerers have become the scientists. Mm-hmm. They were at the point where in the 90s and maybe early 2000s, where they're literally, what they said was gospel truth. Mm-hmm. Whatever they said was gospel truth. If a scientist said it or a scientific community said it, everybody had to believe it. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yes.
It was almost wholly unquestioned. Okay? And of course, this is what Al Gore is banking on when he's talking about climate change and trying to make his new videos about climate change and new documentaries. He's literally begging people, please people, you must understand, even though all my predictions were wrong, we have a serious climate change issue. Please pump billions and billions of dollars into my carbon tax trading company in London. Please, please. I need a couple more $1 billion. I've been squandering it on hookers and, and pedophilia. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just so ridiculous, you know. So and of course he's still trying to use the same old tactics. Mm-hmm. Oh, the icebergs will melt. Even though all his predictions, he said by 2012, Antarctica will have melted. I mean, this guy is ridiculous. The Himalaya snow caps will have melted. And he made this whole Hollywood production of this inconvenient truth. I mean, did you guys see that? Did you young people see that? Did you guys see that? I mean, this is like, all right, he was predicting that the there was no more snow on the Himalayan mountains. Mm. Whoops, by 2012. You know, so they make these ridiculous predictions, and then they get government subsidies, like in the billions of dollars, okay? Mm-hmm. They're able to steal. This guy has made like $9 billion after that movie because he made a carbon tax trading company, which then gets huge subsidies from the government. Mm-hmm. To quote, fix and help climate change. These people are complete bandits. But they're literally like the new magicians, the new sorcerers that try to trick people and say, oh yes, yes, all this calamity will happen. You must, you know, the icebergs will melt and the polar bears will have no more food. You must be able to, you must, you know, let the federal government take more control. This is always the case. It's always, always, always the case. If they were saying the other thing, that's okay, so we need to decentralize federal control, and we need to give state control, we need to give local control more power. Well, that would be great. But they never do that. It's always, we need more state control, blah, blah, blah. Always the same thing. All right, let's get into every month.
Anyway, I want to predict that the next total solar eclipse in the United States will be on April 8th, 2024. So that's my prediction.
That is your...
Yes.
Magical prediction.
Yes, so everybody obey me.
Well, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I do.
Okay. All right, folks, let's get to our Rhema today. We are in John chapter 9, and we are in the subsection True Vision and True Blindness. This is amazing because I was just talking with the kids in Hundoke about this thing. Because, you know, kids, if they don't sharpen their sword, their mind is not quick. They become brain dead again, right? So I asked them, okay, kids, if somebody says to you, like let's say you're protesting homosexual political agenda or transgender agenda, and people come out to you and say, don't judge. Jesus says, don't judge, lest you be judged. How do you respond? And again, they're like, and of course it's 4 in the morning, so they're a little groggy. But still, they're still low level because they forgot about it. How do you respond? They're like, I said, okay, do you recognize how brain dead you become again? Because you're not sharpening a sword with actual thinking anymore? And this is a problem with you have to change it up. If they only do reading, okay, of the word, as young kids, they'll literally shut off their brain and just read it with a brain dead brain so that they can skip, so the next person hurry up and get through their turn so they can do it, and then they can basically sleep. It's not because they're bad or anything. That's how kids operate. So knowing that about children and their mindset or their mind, you have to change it up a lot. You have to help their mind be engaged. Okay, and so it was that thing, and then so I said, okay, how would you respond? Somebody said to you, don't judge, lest you be judged. Jesus, what Jesus said. Jesus said that he came not to judge. Jesus said he doesn't judge anyone. Ah, you see that? How would you respond to that? You see that? And they were having a hard time responding to that. They just didn't know. I said, okay, remember, when somebody tries to set you up into that trap, first thing you have to do is you have to at least say something. You have to respond saying something. Something that's somewhat coherent. Okay, so even if it's not a perfect rebuttal, you have to be able to say something. Otherwise, the lunatic will think that they won the argument. And they'll be like, ha, I won, you suck, and try to plant within you the seed of doubt. And say, oh, maybe there's no real tenable position. When it was really your fault because you were not able to adequately prepare, you were not able to adequately give some rebuttal, because you had not prepared for this type of trap. Okay? So the first thing we can do when somebody tries to put us into that trap is say, no, the Bible says in Proverbs to judge righteously. The Bible actually tells us to judge righteously. The Bible tells us to divide between good and evil. The Bible tells us to be able to understand what God loves and understand what God hates. The Bible tells us to be able to see with clear eyes. Oh, but then they'll say to you, oh yeah, but Jesus said, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye or somebody else's eye. That's what he said. And then how would you respond? And the kids were like, you see that? Even in the second phase rebuttal, they cannot answer. Right? And they should be able to respond, logically and appropriately, saying, because the guy just said, well, Jesus said, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of the other. And you say, well, Jesus has taken the log out of my eye. I once was blind, but now I see. I once was a sinner, but now I'm saved. By grace through the blood of Christ, Jesus, not me, has taken the log out of my eye, and now what he loves, I love, and what he hates, I hate. The sin that I used to adore and love, and the lust that I used to love and adore, I now hate it. And now I love what God loves, and I seek his righteousness and his glory. So out of love, I disagree with what you're doing with the homosexual agenda, etc., etc. You see what I'm saying? But you're able to say something in rebuttal and response when they try to pretend to use Bible quotes against you. And of course, this is what we're hoping to see on the DP road trip with the kids out there on the, debating with people. What I'm saying? These kind of small little arguments and having them be sharp enough to be able to rebut and give riposte. But it's interesting, we were just talking about right now, and boom, look at that. Our scripture and Rima today is John 9:35. Listen to this. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found them, he said to him, do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him? And Jesus said to him, you have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. Then he said, Lord, I believe. This is when the Pharisees excommunicate the healed man, the person that was healed. Okay, so Jesus is talking to him. Jesus said to him, you have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. He's talking about himself. It's he. I am the one. I am the Son of God, he said. Then he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may be blind. Look at that. Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world. Jesus has come for judgment. That those who do not see may see, and those who see may be blind. Then some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, are we blind also? Jesus said to them, if you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say we see, therefore your sin remains. Jesus is very mysterious. He's very mysterious. He's the master of rebuttals. So it's important when you're debating people, especially on the street, on a sort of a low-level debate, basically you just need about 2 layers of debate to win that argument. Okay, you just basically have to be able to rebuttal, have to give some rebuttals for about 2 to 3 layers. And as long as you're able to do that, you're able to break down their arguments, because their arguments are not arguments. They're just throwing kind of little tidbits at you. They're throwing little socially engineered little phrases at you, see? And so when you're able to have a rebuttal, any rebuttal is better than no rebuttal. Any riposte, any statement which is somewhat coherent is better than none. But if you sit there and go like, then they start laughing at you. And then you've lost. Okay? So one of the aspects, of course, key aspects is to say some response. If you can't give a Bible quote, to say some response. You know? I'm saved by the blood. That's why I don't have a log in my eye. Not that I'm boasting or anything, but Jesus had made me be able to see. I used to be blind, but now I see. I used to be blind to my sin. I used to be blind to my, blasphemy against God. I used to be blind to my thievery in front of God. I used to be blind to my, adultery before God. And now I can see. I can see those things. Right? And I can see and divide between good and evil. And the things that you're pushing is, of course, pushing people towards blindness, pushing people to what God does not want, what God hates. Distancing from God. So there are many things that are in this, of course, to unpack. But Jesus says, for judgment I have come into this world, those who do not see. Those who do not see may see, and those that see may be made blind. That's a very mysterious statement, isn't it? Those who can see to be made blind. He says to the Pharisees, if you were blind, you would have no sin, but now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains. In front of the Son of God, they say, we see it all. We understand it all. They're sinful. They're boasting. They're blaspheming for God. In front of the Son of Man, in front of the Son of God, by them saying, we see, we know God, he's saying, no, you don't. I'm right here, and you don't even see me. If you had humbleness in heart, and if you were, in that sense, blind, you would have no sin. You would be able to see me. But you cannot see me. You cannot see I am of the Father. You cannot see I am the substantial body of God on earth. Jesus comes to divide. He said, let those he said, even talking about families or spouses, that they who follow him to be his disciples must even hate their family, brothers, sisters, husband, wife, parents, to follow him. In other words, their love for God must be the most important thing. The horizontal relationships, if they get in the way, must be recognized. And one must be able to transcend them to the higher purpose of man, which is connecting to our divine author, creator. The Queen is furiously typing over there. She's typing very fast today, isn't she? For our Korean audience there. But Christ comes not to bring peace, but to bring the sword, to divide and slice through. To the bone marrow, the Bible says. Slice through, the word of God slices through to the bone marrow. Wow. To divide between good and evil. To expose that which is true, that which is false. To expose that was just relativism and self-justification for pleasure and lust and sin, and that which is true, faithful, in resonance and in connection with the Creator and His nature. If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say we see, therefore your sin remains. He says to the Pharisees, because the Pharisees are the religious, quote, leaders of the day. And they are, of course, at every twist and turn trying to destroy Jesus. Claiming that they have understanding and knowledge of God. When God's Son is here, they cannot even recognize Him. Because they're too busy holding on to their religious power and religious authority and the respect that they gain to the marketplace, praying and bowing and doing all this kind of stuff. And Jesus even tells them, don't pray like those hypocrites. Go into a closet and pray. For your Father knows. Your Father hears you. Your Father knows. God hears you, your prayers. True vision and true blindness comes through our relationship with Christ. It is He who takes out the logs from my eyes. It is He that, with the mud paste, opens our eyes so we can see, so that we may see. It is He that opens our eyes to sin, that we love sin. And because God is eternally holy, and God is infinitely holy, any sin must be infinitely punished. Isn't that interesting? Because God is infinitely holy, any sin is infinitely repugnant. Any sin is infinitely repelled. Any sin is infinitely detestable by God. And so thus, it must be infinitely punished because it is breaking the law. Infinitude is a very interesting reality. Everything changes when you deal with infinitude. And so God is talking about true vision, true blindness. We were once blind to sin. Now we can see that we've sinned. We see that we are liars and thieves and adulterers at heart and blasphemers. We can see that we have told many, many lies in our life. We can see we have stolen many things. Even if it's MP3 music online, whatever, you name it. A lot of thievery. Even if it's other people's time, a lot of thievery. We can see that we have lusted in our heart. So in our heart we've committed adultery. We can see that we blaspheme the name of God, use His name in vain. So by our own reality, we can see that we are liars, thieves, adulterers at heart, and blasphemers. All punishable. All punishable. All must be punished. Because all are directly opposed to the commandments of God. And of course, they extend from His nature. Infinitely repugnant to God. Infinitely deplorable. So if we were to stand on Judgment Day before God, would it be hell or heaven? Where liar, blasphemers, thieves, and adulterers are. Well, obviously it would be hell. Hell means basically prison for lawbreakers. Hell means basically prison for those who have broken the law. Well, I don't really believe in hell, so that's if you believe in that. And if I don't accept that there's a hell. Okay, well who cares if you don't accept it or not? You're not going to say to the judge in front of a courtroom, you're going to say, Judge, I don't really believe that you're here, and so thus this punishment doesn't count on me. The judge's going to laugh at you and say, you get 10 years in prison, plus you get psychoanalysis. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It's about the point is whether or not it's true or not. Whether or not there is a God, whether there is not a God. Whether or not there's an intelligent mind that has a certain purpose and mission for you in your life, or whether there is not. And it's interesting that the scientific community now is 25% theistic. It used to be less than 1%. Can you believe that? Less than 1%. They were so arrogant they believed that through, quote, science, they would be able to bypass the Creator. What do they find? The more they look into it, crap, crap, crap. Oh, shish. Oh, shish. Oh, shish. More and more design, more and more design, more and more complex design, more and more unbelievable infinite design. They're like, oh, shish kebab. Dang! And their little white coats saying, if you're intellectually honest, you have to believe, you have to say there is a design. There's no way this all comes by. And they did the math. They did the math. It's almost infinite. It's infinitely impossible that all this correlating cofactors and correlating constants and variables within the universe would all be properly fine-tuned to interdependently work together to produce the universe of life-affirming universes that we have, the universe that we have. It's infinitely impossible. Isn't that interesting? It's more likely that chimpanzee just hitting the keyboard randomly will write the entire Shakespeare plays just by hitting the thing like this. It's infinitely more possible that a chimpanzee can do that than that this universe bams into existence with no design or intelligent mind. But think about it. Think about how impossible it is for a chimpanzee to just be like this on a stupid keyboard and write the whole Shakespeare plays perfectly. I mean, no mistakes. You understand? That's unbelievable. The more science looks into the statistics of it, it vanishes. Any possibility of chance vanishes away into oblivion. And so the intellectual honest ones have to actually say, crap, I really don't like this conclusion, but I guess there's a designer. The dishonest ones who are funded by federal government say, well, we're not going to jump to conclusions yet. Oh, like they always do. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
$6.58. $6.14. $6.46. Time 471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. the 40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the magnet porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Monday, August 21st, 2017. Let's go now to our headline news. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Man stabbed after haircut gets him mistaken for a neo-Nazi, reported by the New York Post. Here you go, right there. Here's a young man here, a Caucasian man with a short haircut on the sides. Got him stabbed. This is how insane these crazies have become. This color man is avowedly not a neo-Nazi. He's not a racist white supremacist. But he believes his long on top, buzz on the sides haircut got him mistaken for one and nearly stabbed to death by a confused anti-fascist. This is what's so ridiculous. They call themselves Antifa, anti-fascist. They're the freaking fascists. They're the ones who want freaking centralized control. All of them are commies. They literally promote communist Marxist ideals. Yes. They want centralized control. They want fascist control. They don't even know what the hell fascism is.
They don't, right.
They have no idea. Oh, they think if you want sovereignty, you're a fascist.
Anyone who disagrees with them is fascist.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. By confused terrorist lunatic. Joshua Witt, this poor young man Joshua, okay, escaped his brush with hairdo doom with a defensive slice of the hand and 3 stitches. Apparently my haircut is considered a neo-Nazi statement, he told the Post Saturday, as his account on Facebook garnered 20,000 shares. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at this ridiculous attack. It's absurd. Witt says he just pulled into the parking lot of a Steak and Shake in Sheridan, Colorado, and he pulled in to have a steak at a restaurant, and he was opening his car door, and this dude pulls out a deadly weapon and freaking tries to slash his head. What? These lunatics are totally, they're going to get themselves killed. They're going to get themselves killed. This is ridiculous. All I hear is, are you one of them neo-Nazis? And this dude is swinging a knife up over my car door at me, he said. I threw my hands up, and once the knife hit, I dived back into my car and shut the door and watched him run off west behind my car. The dude was actually aiming for my head, he added. I was more in shock because I was just getting a milkshake. Oh my gosh! This is freaking nuts! In Colorado, too, one of the most liberal freaking states. I mean, cities are super liberal. He's in Colorado, but I guess he's in a city. Stopping at a Steak and Shake, trying to get a milkshake. Innocent white man, Joshua, just trying to get a freaking milkshake, and some dude, they don't even identify what kind of person this was. Was it a Black Lives Matter terrorist? Who was it? Witt says he has no tattoos or regalia that would finger him for a fascist. What do you mean fascist? His pals are messaging him on Facebook with the only rationale they come up with. They say it's my haircut. He's thinking of changing his look, he says. And that is the end of the article. I mean, look at that. That is totally absurd. That now Americans have to fear getting a milkshake. That's pathetically ridiculous. And that's why you should be armed. You should be able to defend yourself. I mean, look at this. That man put this man at risk. Life at risk. Literally, he threatened his life because he thought in his brainwashed little cult mind that this guy was a neo-Nazi and I'm going to slash his head off. What the? These people are living in a freaking delusional land. They're playing way too many video games, eating too much GMO food, and listening to too many stupid Marxist professors and radicalized terrorists trying to tell them that, oh, the white folk trying to get you. The white folk are everywhere. The whites are coming out of the woodwork. The white neo-Nazis are everywhere. What the hell are they talking about? Oh my gosh, we just saw. I got to show this in the break. Guys, type in Charlottesville, false flag, must see or something like that. Because now what they're finding is that some of the main organizers like Jason Kessler had written articles for CNN. And Jason Kessler was an Obama supporter. He was actually working in the Obama. Oh, gosh. Oh, he was an Obama supporter, and he's posing to be this white supremacist organizer. And the guy worked for Obama. And then this other guy who put on this white supremacist outfit and dressed up like a neo-Nazi, basically as a saboteur. This other guy was literally in, and he was interviewed on CNN as a spectator, and he had a video. He even had a video, and he was a, quote, spectator. Then they did a search on this guy's name, and this guy literally worked in the State Department under Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people are complete federal deep state operatives working in Charlottesville to blow up this scenario. Totally ridiculous. And then there's now clips that come out with literally walls of policemen forcing these white protesters into Antifa. I mean, they're pushing them into Antifa. They literally have a horseshoe formation, okay, which doesn't let them run in and out. And there's a staircase, and they're pushing them down the staircase. You guys got the video? Must see Charlottesville false flag. Let's see that video. Because there are now new clips coming out. Hold on, let's see. If that's right? Is that the right one?
Maybe not.
Okay, let's see. Okay, maybe that may be. Go ahead, play that. I don't know if that's exactly the right one. But there's all sorts of ridiculousness. Go ahead, play that.
Basically, I didn't put the words graphic violence in my title. So I lost all of my views and my comments for that video, which makes me a pretty mad kitty. Although I kind of wonder if they really removed it because I was hinting that the Charlottesville crash was a false flag. Well, if YouTube didn't like my last video, they really aren't going to like this one because I have developed some theories on the situation. And as a warning, I will be showing images of graphic violence. Theory number 1, what the mainstream media wants everyone to believe. A disgruntled white supremacist got pissed off and drove their car into a group of left-wing protesters as a premeditated act of violence. At this point, it's still a theory, not a fact, and it is very possible. I mean, it's the simplest explanation.
There's nobody in the car up there in front. See that? Nobody's up in the car in front.
If this comes out to be proven to be the case.
And the airbags do not deploy. That car that just crashed in, airbags don't deploy. Whereas a 2018, 2017, whatever, modern Mustang, airbags should immediately deploy. And you should see big airbags in the front.
Damage was done before the incident. And also, here you can see someone is hitting his car and he brakes. Those are his brake lights there before slamming on the gas. So that could show that he was startled or scared by having his car being hit and he drives off. Kind of like how a horse runs after being whipped. Or perhaps that hit was some sort of signal to start driving if this is a false flag. Theory number 3. This was a viral marketing ad for Dodge Chargers, and they did start a drag racing event called Roadkill Night on the same day as the rally. But I'm just going to hope and assume that that is just
I don't know if this is the one. But anyways, there's another one that actually shows. Just skip forward a little bit. Why don't you skip forward a little? It's not like, okay, there you go. Yes, who is this guy? And I know we're going to get flack for having a little cat speaking and saying that we listened to a video with a cat speaking. That's what the leftists will say. They're listening to videos with cats speaking.
their uniform would be easier to fake than a Best Buy employee. And we already know that Antifa were posing as Nazis, so it would be child's play to pose as a member of Vanguard America, which James Alex Fields Jr. was not a member of. The VA has said on their official Twitter that his name did not appear on any of their member registries. But here he is in his khakis and tinted glasses. Remember that for later. Now, military records do show that James had a brief stint in the U.S. Army, joining August 2015 and leaving the Army December of that year, just weeks after basic training would have ended. An Army spokesperson said that he was released from active duty due to failure to meet training standards. But I can't find anywhere that he was unable to complete boot camp. I mean, there is a long history of various intelligence and law enforcement agencies recruiting directly from the ranks of military and then sending those young recruits off to join various white supremacist movements.
Okay, hold on. That cat is bothering me. Okay, let's get the cat off. Get another video, because that cat is just is bothering me too much. That cat is too much. Okay. Any of the research that woman is doing, which is, you know, she's actually asking some good inquiries, but the stupid cat is discrediting her. It's totally discrediting her, okay? So we disavow the cat, okay? We disavow the cat. We disavow all the cat. They're trying to speak. We don't listen to the cats, don't worry. Get it, there's another one. There's another one with more info coming out there with actual video showing the pushing crowds, the police crowds pushing them into Antifa. There's also CNN clips of this guy, Bressler, I think his name is Bressler, Brannan, they did searches on him, and he works in the State Department. The guy is a complete Fed. He's a federal operative, and he's, quote, on the scene taking videos. Immediately, he just happens to be there taking videos, and he happens to be there even though he should be in Washington. He happens to be there at the Charlottesville event. So this kind of thing is just insane. The more and more you look at it, this is classic, strategic, explosive clash, and that they're trying to propagate so as to bring in martial law, which of course they did, and declare a state of emergency, which they did, to centralize even more power to themselves, and of course to further balkanize the country and further play race and identity politics, saying that, oh, all white people want to kill all black people, and black people, you should all kill all white people. Because guess what? Who's white and sits in the White House? President Trump. You see that? And they get these loony bins wound up and riled up. It's not a quick jump for them to say, hey, look at all these white supremacists coming out of the woodwork. Where are they all coming from? Well, they're coming from Trump in the White House. We got to blow up the White House. That's what they're going to do, right? And there's, of course, listen to the words of Madonna. She's saying literally she wants to blow up the White House. These people are completely insane. They're stabbing people on the street for trying to get a milkshake because they have the wrong haircut. What kind of country are we living in? Is this Sharia law country? This is ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
North Korea kills people for the wrong haircut.
There you go. There you go, Tim. We're moving closer to North Korea thanks to Antifa and thanks to George Soros, who funds them. This is how insane this is. Totally ridiculous. White House petition calls on Trump to officially recognize Antifa as a terrorist organization. Fantastic! Terrorism is defined as the use of violence and intimidation in pursuit of political aims. Exactly what these idiot Antifa idiots are doing. A White House petition created Thursday is calling on President Trump to officially recognize the radical left-wing Antifa movement as a terrorist organization. Antifa has earned this title due to its violent actions in multiple cities and their influence in the killing of multiple police officers throughout the United States. Petition reads, we the people, your voice in the White House, formally recognize Antifa as a terrorist organization. Fantastic! Antifa has been known to provoke right-wing activists and has made appearances in Berkeley, California, and marched in Charlottesville, Virginia last weekend. In the most recent incident in Charlottesville, the violent protest clashed with right-wing activists protesting the city's decision to remove a statue of Robert E. Lee. Linked to Breitbart. There those idiots are. They're being part of a terrorist organization. Although Trump has not called out Antifa by name, he did condemn white supremacists and violent alt-left protesters. What about the alt-left that came charging at, as you say, at the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt? Trump told reporters at Trump Tower on Tuesday. What about the fact that they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. That was horrible. Horrible day. The petition had 29,169 signatures as of Saturday evening, still shy of just over 70,000 signatures before it's eligible for an official response from the White House. Other petitions demanding that Trump take action against similar advocacy groups have circulated through the White House petition site, like one attempting to get Trump to recognize Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization, but none have gotten an official response from the White House. Now, they have a whole army of lawyers, of George Soros operatives. So even if you put them on the terrorist list, they'll just create another organization, and George Soros will just simply move his funds to that. That's what they'll do. But of course, it is a good step in trying to publicly condemn the alt-left and the radicalized left by making them a terrorist organization formally by the FBI. That's not bad, but I'm telling you what they're going to do is just simply change the organization. They're going to shut that down, change the organization, tell everybody to just move to that organization, and George Soros will just move his funding to that organization. And that's the game that they play. That's why this kind of foreign funding is so dangerous. And the NGO loophole is used as a system for political subterfuge sabotage masters like George Soros to get in and fund and to foment, literally to brew division to divide and conquer a particular economic nation. So there you go. Also, the New York Times applauds far-left violence, not a surprise. Look at these idiots dressed in black with freaking hoods over their head. Look how proud they must be of their organization that they have to hide themselves. And look at that, all these white kids believing that they're on some kind of moral crusade because they've been brainwashed in their public education from a young child, been hypersexualized, have become beta males, have become little cuckolded little children, brainwashed by Marxist professors, literally thinking that America is the enemy of all the world, is the worst place. They literally agree with Sharia law and literally agree with the most radical forms of Islam, thinking America is the Satan of the world, which allows them to have a view and allows them and protects their freedom to protest and assemble, etc. And they're calling it for the most backwards, radicalized, Stone Age ideology to come in to ally with so that they can get rid of gun owners and sovereignty-based people so that they can take over, take control, and then literally they'll be thrown on the rug and become slaves to the state and live in a freaking North Korea or Venezuela. I mean, these people are so brain-dead idiots. Such brain-dead idiots. An Antifa member tells the Times, you need violence in order to protect nonviolence. Oh, okay. You need violence in order to protect nonviolence. Okay, yes, and he's nonviolent. In his world, he's nonviolent because he needs violence to protect nonviolence. New York Times reporters Thomas Fuller, Alan Foyer, and Steve Nicol are responsible for this admiring profile of the far-left brown shirts called Antifa. Antifa members are ready to literally fight right-wingers. Members have shown no qualms about using their fists, sticks, or canister pepper spray to meet an array of white-wing antagonists who they call a fascist threat to U.S. democracy. Is Antifa violent? Well, that depends on the meaning of violent is. You need violence in order to protect nonviolence, she said. That's what's very obviously necessary right now. When you look at this grave and dangerous threat and the violence it already has caused, it is more dangerous to do nothing and tolerate it, or should we confront it? They can't confront it ideologically because as they try to debate it, they lose. So they have temper tantrums and they start lashing out physically. Try to debate sovereignty. Try to debate free markets. Try to debate, less centralized government. Try to debate less centralized force. Try to debate gun rights. You can't debate it. That's why the left is unleashing Antifa and these pathetic terrorists who literally still live in their mommy's basement because they're losing the argument. They're losing the ideological war. They're losing the war of ideas in the marketplace, in the square of free ideas. Because in that marketplace, communism loses, socialism loses. When evidence is able to be portrayed and demonstrated, evidence always shows that socialism, Marxism, communism creates hellholes that nobody wants to live in. And so everybody understands that they will create a hellhole if they get to power. And so by debate, they lose. And because they lose, they throw temper tantrums, pick up 2x4s, and attack lesbian women who just want to go see Milo Yiannopoulos speak at Berkeley. This is freaking nuts. And they say they're protecting homosexuals and women. They're literally beating up lesbian white women who are trying to go see Milo Yiannopoulos speak at Berkeley. I mean, this is how crazy you are. This is how nuts they are. My gosh. The mere existence of supporters of President Trump is, the mere existence of supporters of President Trump is violent. The mere existence of 70% of America is violent. So we should just gain centralized power, take away all the guns, and kill them all. This is literally their logic. So it's okay to attack them with baseball bats. The Time Reporter shows no sign of disagreeing with this reasoning. Wow. Wow. You see this? This is how mentally ill and brainwashed, cult-like these people are. Literally in this game of one-upping each other in this cult-like fashion of who can be more sensitive, who can be not as insulting towards other transgender groups. I mean, this is crazy. Utter insanity. The mere existence of supporters of Trump is violent. Wow. So if everybody doesn't agree with your fascist communist ideology, they're violent. Just because they don't agree with you. So if everybody doesn't want to implode their country and have the state own their children, they're violent because they disagree and they've seen the actual iron fist and red death of communism. So the mere fact that people are against the 1.6 poor Asian people that are held as slaves by the Chinese aristocracy, and people say that's bad, so they want to support Trump and don't want to bring that here, that's violence. Oh, but bashing people over the head with 2x4s and bike locks and spraying innocent girls on the freaking street with pepper spray who are giving interviews, or punching people and stabbing people because they have a haircut, that's fine. These people are mentally ill. They are a direct threat to the security and safety of any nation. And they must be put in their place. That is why people need to be armed and ready to defend themselves with these crazy nutbags. Totally ridiculous. Shame on you, New York Times, you pathetic idiots. You stupid propagandist funders of radical jihadis and radical terrorists that want to kill and cut people's heads off because they have a wrong haircut in their cult-like view. Their little video game, prancing, troll-like, demonic patrols that they're doing, literally like Sharia police. How ridiculous is that? Absurd. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, It's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Kahr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit kahr.com today. Kahr Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Kahr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Kahr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Kahr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Kahr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit kahr.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon. Second Give China Goo. Let's go now to the must-watch NBC caught red-handed with Charlottesville crisis actors. Take a look at this. My computer.
Was caught on video by several people at yesterday's rally, and be warned, some of this is going to be disturbing. The images show this car speeding forward to plow right into the pedestrians, then backing up, hitting more people, and speeding away. Brennan Gilmore recorded it all on his phone and uploaded it to his Twitter account, and Brennan joins me now. Brennan, pretty horrifying thing to witness, that's for sure. Take us through what you saw.
Yes, absolutely terrifying scene. I was filming actually a peaceful, nonviolent march of anti-racist protesters who were coming up a very narrow street. I was in the middle of the street myself filming them and heard from behind me the acceleration of a vehicle, spun around, and saw the vehicle in question barreling down a very narrow street with no traffic.
This guy's supposed to be just a random viewer down the street, okay? He's supposed to be a random person who happened to get this on film. Let's see what he is.
At a high rate of speed, clearly intent on doing damage and destruction to the crowd, passed over a barrier and went down the street and accelerated hard as it barreled into the crowd, sending bodies flying.
Who is NBC's convenient witness in this case, Mr. Brennan Gilmore?
He was presented as an accidental witness, but who is he really? Gilmore worked in Africa as a State Department foreign officer under Hillary Clinton. The New York Times mentioned this coincidence and then later deleted it. Brennan Gilmore was also involved with the Coney hoax in 2012, and he's currently Chief of Staff for Tom Perriello, who's running for governor of Virginia and received
Listen to this. How much funding did they receive from George Soros?
$80,000 from George Soros.
Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't it happen? Oh, this random guy on the street that happened to get the video, and he happened to be on the exact right street when the whole terrorist attack happened, and it just started off this whole media campaign against every Trump supporter, by the way, who totally disavows white supremacy and totally disavows racism. Oh, this guy, Brendan Gilmore, who's an accidental witness, happened to work in the State Department under Hillary Clinton and happens to be the Chief of Staff of this politician who received $80,000 from yours truly. There it is. What is that? Look at the sandbags under that fool's eyes. Look at the George Soros. This fool literally looks like Emperor Palpatine. He literally, this is a colluding, corrupt, satanic banker, businessman who literally destroys millions of people's lives, imploding economies, betting against the boom and bust cycles that he creates with the Rothschild federal banks, etc. To then make billions more to fund more radicalization and more leftist lunacy and more centralized power throughout the world. He is one of the biggest international crime bosses in the world. And he gives money directly to that politician whose chief of staff happens to be walking about in Charlottesville and happens to get the video evidence of this terrorist attack. Isn't that convenient to him? Isn't that quite convenient?
Turns out that Mr. Gilmore is a former Hillary State Department employee and chief strategist for a deep state crony. Now let's look at the footage Mr. Gilmore has provided.
Chief strategist. Chief strategist. Just happens to be that. Surprise, surprise.
Pay attention to the screeching tires and the first set of screams 5 seconds before impact. When examining the other footage of this incident, we'll notice for ourselves that the sound of the screeching tires and screams before impact are missing.
This is a video from Faith Goldie, I believe, in Rebel Media right here on this one.
Not only does this Brennan Gilmore footage seem edited in a Hollywood sound studio, but if you pay attention to the setup of this attempted massacre, it looks like the choke point was organized in advance. You can see that the lead car at this intersection has no driver, therefore causing a bottleneck for this incident to occur. More strange facts are discovered when looking into the organizer of this Unite the Right event. Mr. Jason Kessler, the ultra-white supremacist, was actually a hardcore Obama/Hillary supporter until November of 2016. And this is according to Mr. Kessler himself. He says that he just had a change of heart after the election. And
so you have a hardcore Obama and Hillary Clinton supporter, campaign supporter, and all of a sudden he had a change of heart and became a white supremacist. Doesn't that smell a little funny to him?
Yeah, that's very strange.
This is the guy who actually did the organizer. And he happens to be an Obama and Hillary Clinton supporter and had a change of heart and became a white supremacist all of a sudden. If he was a liberal cultist, you know, that's identity politics is part of their religion.
But he used to be a paid shill for CNN. That's CNN. They don't report the news, they make the news with the help of rent-a-crowd companies and deep state cronies. Then there's the story of James Fields.
Look at that, Jason Kessler. Obama and Clinton just demolished the Republican arguments on consecutive nights with two of the greatest speeches of this generation. Look at him. He's a complete Obama-ite, Hillary Clintonite. And he's supposed to be the main organizer there. Isn't that a little strange? It is strange. Isn't it strange that there's deep state feds now all around that are coming out? This is why the internet is so important. It allows investigative journalists and people to look up these people. And this is why they want to censor the internet, control the internet, you name it, Google, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, all these conglomerates trying to control the internet because it's free access to free information for everyone. Pierre Tardy sent me a very interesting video on how we can counter Google and how we can start countering Facebook, how we can start migrating to different platforms which don't support this type of totalitarian, North Korean, Iranian, racist censorship. against people with different political opinions.
The ultra-right organizations at this event state that Mr. Fields wasn't on any of their membership lists. He just showed up in khakis and a white shirt, picked up a shield, and had his picture taken before taking action into his own hands. It's now come out that Mr. Fields...
So this guy was not even on these white supremacist organization boards or even in their list, and he just shows up and decides, and he used to be ex-military, so he's wound up by the CIA, is known to have done that, probably on PCPs, probably on with pharmacological drugs. Almost every single one of these military attacks that have been done by former military, these people are on psychotropic drugs, which are known to cause suicidal and homicidal thoughts, and which they just, of course, wind people up. Able to completely do mind control. This is what MK Ultra was about. Guys, look up MK Ultra, a video on MK Ultra. This is about the whole CIA, FBI, black ops organizations. Studying, bringing in Nazi scientists with Operation Paperclip, studying how to literally control people's minds, especially with US soldiers. How to take people, parts of the brain, how to stimulate different parts of the brain, take parts out of the brain to make basically a robot. And this is what every military has been interested in, trying to create what they call the Manchurian Candidate, or a superhuman that will obey the orders, basically a robot that will never defy orders, because totalitarians want that type of army. And this boy looks like a wind-up toy that they wound up, sent to this to dress him in a white shirt and khakis to blend in with other, people there, and then take action in its own hands and run over people with no airbags that are deployed, and then speed off at 60 miles an hour going backwards. Meanwhile, there happens to be all these feds, all these people working in the deep state, all these cuckold white boys that work in the deep state saying, oh yes, and I was very shocked to see it. It was very terrifying indeed. And they're supposed to be random accident witnesses. And now, because of the alternative media, because people are not buying the mainstream narrative, which they used to have complete monopoly and control over, but now they do not. Anybody that's that doesn't believe the government narrative or the deep state narrative or the CNN narrative, well, you're wrong. And Trump is racist for saying there's problems on both sides. How dare he not believe CNN? How dare he not believe MSNBC and Rachel Maddow? How dare he not believe Chris Cuomo on CNN? Because they said so. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Hi, welcome to Tommy Gun Warehouse. We have a short video for you this afternoon. We want to show you how to work the action on a P380. This is our very small pocket 380 that it has a very strong spring, to work the slide. And this is because it's a very small gun, and we need to have that extra spring tension to actually make the gun work properly. So today I want to show you how to properly work the action. Ladies sometimes find it very difficult, not to mention some men find it difficult to work the slide. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to hand a firearm to someone properly. The ejection port should be up, the slide is back, and nothing in the magazine well. Then you take this and you hand it to somebody in this manner. They should then verify that it is empty and nothing in the magazine well. And now what I want to show you is how to work the action on this P380. It's sometimes difficult for men and many times difficult for women, but if you know how, it's not that difficult. So a die is going to start out by facing at a 45-degree angle downrange. The gun is going to be, the axis of the barrel is going to be the same axis as her forearm. She's going to keep it closer to her chest, and then reaching over the top with her weak hand, she's going to make sure that this ejection port is clear, that her hand isn't in the way, because you don't want to have an accidental detonation of a primer and injure your hand. So using the upper body strength, you're going to, just work it together, push and pull at the same time, and lock it back. And it's just that simple. You might not get it the first time, but all it takes is a little practice and learning how to use your muscles, and you'll do just fine. Di had started this just a short time ago, and after the third or fourth attempt, she was doing it perfectly. So thanks for listening. Come down and see us at Tommy Gun Warehouse, and we'll show you this P380.
Yes, sir.
Hi, welcome to Tommy Gun Warehouse. We have a short video for you this afternoon. We want to show you how to work the action on a P380. This is our very small pocket 380 that it has a very strong spring, to work the slide. And this is because it's a very small gun, and we need to have that extra spring tension to actually make the gun work properly. So today I want to show you how to properly work the action. Ladies sometimes find it very difficult, not to mention some men find it difficult to work the slide. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to hand a firearm to someone properly. The ejection port should be up, the slide is back, and nothing in the magazine well. Then you take this and you hand it to somebody in this manner. They should then verify that it is empty and nothing in the magazine well. And now what I want to show you is how to work the action on this P380. It's sometimes difficult for men and many times difficult for women, but if you know how, it's not that difficult. So Di is going to start out by facing at a 45-degree angle downrange. The gun is going to be, the axis of the barrel is going to be the same axis as her forearm. She's going to keep it closer to her chest, and then reaching over the top with her weak hand, she's going to make sure that this ejection port is clear, that her hand isn't in the way, because you don't want to have an accidental detonation of a primer and injure your hand. So using the upper body strength, you're going to, just work it together, push and pull at the same time, and lock it back. And it's just that simple. You might not get it the first time, but all it takes is a little practice and learning how to use your muscles, and you'll do just fine. Di had started this just a short time ago, and after the third or fourth attempt, she was doing it perfectly. So thanks for listening. Come down and see us at Tommy Gun Warehouse, and we'll show you this P380.
Yes, sir.
but happy. And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Board this Monday, August 21st, 2017. I'm your host, Sean Moon, the second king of Chanihuguk. And we are back getting over to our headline news. More Antifa lunacy, stupid black biatch, quote, supposed to be on our side, end quote, Antifa yells at black officer during Boston protests. Leftist bullies expose themselves as total hypocrites. Footage out of Saturday's free speech counter-protest in Boston shows Antifa protesters berating a black officer because of his skin color. Peter J. Hansen tweets, "You stupid-ass black bitch. You're supposed to be on our side." That's what this protester screams in the face of a black police officer. Let's take a look at the clip. Look at this. They're just creating mob violence. They want to create a confrontation with the police. George Soros, that is. They want to get this to be identity politics. They want this to be. Look at this. Look at this. They're actually fighting the police like this. What are they doing? They're not allowed to do that to police. If you do that to police, you're gonna get assaulted, you dummies. You can't assault police officers. Look at this. I mean, the cities are breaking down. You understand? This is a week after Charlottesville, okay? Look at how the cities are breaking down. You see this? Yeah. They're supposed to have a free speech protest, and there they are. They think they can just go up to cops and push them around. They're law enforcement. Do you understand? You can't just go and assault people and have. I saw a little cartoon. It's like this idiot, skinny little white kid dressed in Antifa clothes, and he's got this bloody fist, and he goes to George Soros and goes, "Oh, look, they attacked me," and the politician or George Soros is like, "Look, white racist supremacist terrorism." The terrorists hurt your fist, baby. Oh, the terrorists hurt your fist. He was punching the white people. And he's a white kid in black clothes. And then he's, "Oh, look at that. The terrorists made my hands bloody. Look at that." This is how pathetic these idiots are. They're so crazy. They're being riled up by mainstream media, by the New York Times supporting this type of violent rhetoric and violent behavior. They're being riled up to make believe that this is race identity politics. They're falling right into George Soros' decrepit, disgusting, satanic, vampiric, fanged mouth. They're falling right into it. This is how brain dead the masses are, and they're still vulnerable to the control of the mainstream, pathetic, lying, fake news media. That has done nothing to try to bring peace in this country. That has done nothing to try to support a duly elected president. They have done everything to create chaos because they know their time is up. Trump has arrested over 10,000 people in the pedophile clubs, sex traffickers, you name it. He's coming after them in Washington. They all know their time is short. He know he's coming after them. They know he's got the apparatus now, the FBI, all the investigative bodies, to go after them and prosecute them, bring them to justice. That's why they're literally pushing the propaganda on high speed, high control. $600 billion given to WAPO, Washington Post, and Jeff Bezos to fund the propaganda brand of Washington Post machine and the New York Times. Look at these idiots. You can't assault police officers and think that they're just going to stand there being attacked by literally mobs that are 3, 4, 20 times bigger than them. This is just ridiculous. There you are. This is Boston on Saturday, okay? This is literally the state of America now in the cities. Getting people riled up with race identity politics. He just hit an officer, you dummy. And they're sitting there trying to shout and cry, "Oh, stop it, stop it," even though they're the ones attacking. Thinking that they'll get some photos taking them of them shouting and saying, "Stop it, officer, stop it." You're the one who's attacking the officers, you stupid racist crazies. You're the ones who are being wound up by the biggest white supremacist racists on the planet, George Soros Rothschild Group. They literally laugh at you because you're falling directly into their strategy. And you have no ability to know that you're being indoctrinated and being led like sheep to the slaughter, cattle to be prodded, cattle to be led to the killing. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about your children. They care about control, power, and exploitation, and the protection of their blackmailable assets and their pedophile rings. Give me a break. This is ridiculous. And look at all these liberal, trendy areas like Boston, totally exploding. Ridiculous. You're supposed to be on our side because he's black. He's not supposed to have a brain. We're supposed to see everything based on race. We're supposed to conform because Al Sharpton told everybody in the black community they have to believe in one way. Black people can't think for their own. Black people can't seek for evidence. Asian people can't think for their own. Asian people can't seek evidence. Hispanics can't think for themselves. They can't seek evidence to find truth for themselves. They have to believe what CNN says and believe what their stupid little handlers on Telemundo tell them. No! People are to be free and sovereign, not to be slaves to be herded on little internet ghetto plantations. If they leave, how dare you leave? How dare you leave the plantation? You're an Uncle Tom because you left the plantation. And you don't want to be controlled by CNN and Washington Post, the most racist, little white supremacist elitists who are literally using you to implode the country so they can make money off of it. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. So pathetic, but you can see why God brought us into the wilderness. New York Post also reporting in other news, vaginas absolutely need sex or they'll waste away, a study reports. It's a painful condition that can leave you itching, even burning down there, and no, it's not a sexually transmitted infection. Just when you thought you had enough to worry about after realizing having a depressed vagina is a thing, women are also at risk of vaginal atrophy. Vaginal atrophy is a common but treatable condition that causes the vaginal wall to thin, and while it can be a problem for women at any age, it's more likely to affect women who are going through or have been through menopause. That is because the body produces less estrogen than normal, which has then an effect on how the vaginal wall behaves. Vaginal atrophy can also occur in women who have been treated for cancer, especially those who have had hormone treatment for breast cancer, according to the Mayo Clinic. Common symptoms include discharge, burning, itching, difficulty peeing, and pain during sex. This might seem like enough to put you off having sex for good, but regular orgasms from your partner or a bit of self-love can actually ward off nasty symptoms. And the key is to increase blood flow to your nether regions. When you climax, it works almost like a workout down there. A London-based sex therapist said, it is very important that we have a healthy sex life with a partner or with ourselves. People very often say, I don't have sex life because I don't have... This is why God made marriage, and absolute sex marriage is healthy. You understand? Not only healthy for men, but healthy for women, to ward off disease and nasty, itchy syndromes. That's an argument for a healthy sex life in an absolute sex marriage, not with different partners, not with different AI sex toys, with a living, biological, made apex creation of a human being that God created. That is the opposite sex from you, because that's how God made it. Also in the news, solar eclipse is the big news of the day. Solar eclipse. Does solar eclipse fulfill Bible prophecy or apocalypse and second coming? Today's solar eclipse will be the first for 99 years to cross the U.S. from coast to coast. Many fundamentalist Christians see this as a significant warning of the impending apocalypse, the second coming of Christ, and the rapture. This is what's so crazy. No, it's not the second coming of Christ. You know why? Because if we're in mid-trib, okay, people say, in mid-trib, that's when we have the woman in the sky, and the Revelation 12's come out, and then we have the sun and the moon at our feet, and clothing the sun, and the 12 stars of garland, and that's when Jesus will be born because of the birth. She's having birth pangs, and the Lord will be born. You idiots, read your freaking Bible. There's 1,260 days. That's 3.45 about years. It's 3.5 years. So if Jesus is born in mid-trib, if he's born now, he's going to be 3.5 years old when he's leading the revolution against all the nations of Satan. You're going to have a 3-year-old baby, that's going to conquer Jerusalem and conquer and vanquish all of Satan's kingdoms. A 3.5-year-old baby. You got a little bit of a problem there. It's just ridiculous. Christ has already returned. We're in the last days, and his kingdom is coming, you bums. It's not going to be a 3.5-year-old baby leading you to victory over kingdom Satan. Christ's kingdom is already here. The Constitution, the kingship is already here. The Constitution is real. We are the only Christian body on the planet that can see the kingdom and has a clear picture of what God's kingdom on earth is. Everything else is just conjecture. And guess what? Newsflash, it is totally opposite from all the kingdoms of Satan that ever existed. You're talking about decentralized, completely decentralized. A lot of conscience, peace, militia, private property, free markets, free association, and the right to bear arms.
Kingdom of Kings.
The kingdom of kings. Well, the citizens have the right of kings, only traditionally given to false satanic kings. Now God's kingdom is coming. The Great American Total Solar Eclipse, as it is called, to be a warning sign from God, as it allegedly fulfills a Bible prophecy. Pastor Paul Bigley, host of the Coming Apocalypse radio show, said the eclipse could possibly fulfill a prophecy recorded in the book of Joel. This states the sun shall be turned into darkness when the day of the Lord come. Bigley said, somebody sound the trumpet, because the eclipse may mean we're living in the last days. Writing for Unsealed.org, Gary Ray says the eclipse may mean that 2017 will mark the beginning of the tribulation, a time in the Bible prophecy as a period of conflict and suffering. It's already there. It's already started, you bum.
And this is only in the United States. So.
And it's only in the United States.
Second coming is not coming to Europe or Asia. I don't understand.
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. Even if they agree with the fact that this is mid-trib with the 923 event coming up, you got a serious problem, because if they're saying Jesus is born on 923 or around that date, he's going to be 3 years old. 3-year-old baby. By the time God's kingdom is supposed to be coming. And tribulation is supposed to be over. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report with more headline news after this.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Monday, August 21st, 2017. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, second Kim Chen-Yuguk. And now to North Korea warns a merciless strike ahead of U.S.-South Korea drills, which begin today. Is that correct?
Yes.
They've already begun, actually, in Korea, right? Is that correct?
They've just begun. They're just beginning.
CNN, the Clinton News Network, reports North Korea warned Sunday that the upcoming U.S.-South Korea military exercise had reckless behavior driving the situation into an uncontrollable phase of a nuclear war. Pyongyang also declared that its army can target the United States anytime, and neither Guam, Hawaii, nor the U.S. mainland can dodge a merciless strike. The message in Rodong Shinmun, the official government newspaper, come a day before the U.S. starts the Ulchi Freedom Guardian military exercises with South Korea.
Yeah, so they began Monday. Yeah.
Tensions between the U.S. and North Korea have grown in recent weeks. Just last week, Pyongyang said it has finalized a plan to fire 4 missiles toward the U.S. territory of Guam. State media reported that leader Kim Jong-un would assess the U.S.'s next move before giving launch orders. Kim would watch a little more the foolish and stupid conduct of the Yankees, a North Korean statement said last week. But U.S. military and Trump administration officials said that 10-day military exercises set to begin Monday would go ahead as scheduled. The annual drills antagonize Pyongyang, which see them as a practice for invasion. However, the U.S. and South Korea maintain they are purely defensive. The Trump group's declaration of the reckless nuclear war exercise against the DPRK is reckless behavior driving the situation to uncontrollable phase of a nuclear war, end quote, Rodong Shinmun said, using the acronym for Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the nation's official name. It described North Korea as the strongest possessor of intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of striking the U.S. mainland from anywhere. The Korean People's Army is keeping high alert, full ready to contain the enemies. It will take resolute steps the moment even a slight sign of the preventive war is spotted. It did not provide any details on what it meant by preventive war. But both U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Secretary of Defense Mattis said last week that the U.S. was keeping military options on the table in dealing with North Korea. Tillerson says peaceful diplomatic pressure was the preferred way to get Pyongyang to stop its testing of nuclear ICBM missiles, but he added the diplomatic approach has to be backed with military threat. If North Korea chooses to move forward with destabilizing actions, Mattis also made clear the U.S.'s willingness to use force if North Korea steps out of line. In close collaboration with our allies, there are strong military consequences if the DPRK initiates hostilities. As tensions escalate, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, the commie, promised his citizens last week there will be no war on the Korean Peninsula ever again. Ever again. What an arrogant, ahistorical statement. There's only been on average a Korean Peninsula invasion 5 years, on average, over the last 5,000 years. Moon, who took office in May, announced on his 100th day in office that U.S. and South Korean policies align on North Korea. U.S. President Donald Trump assured South Korea he would consult with them for making any military decision on Korea. According to Moon, Moon said North Korea's development of nuclear weapons technology was nearing a red line, which he described as completing an ICBM and weaponizing it with a nuclear head. North Korea claims it has successfully miniaturized a nuclear weapon. While some experts believe it may have the technology, others caution that even if it doesn't, North Korea should be taken at its word. If North Korea provokes again, it will face with much higher sanctions and won't stand it in the end. I want to warn North Korea to do no more dangerous gambling, Moon said. His comments about averting war echoed similar statements he made Tuesday that only South Korea could give consent to initiate any conflict with the North.
That's not true.
That's ridiculous. What an arrogant statement. That's bull.
He's channeling Neville Chamberlain.
The government, he's got a way too inflated view of his power. Yeah. The government putting everything on the line will block war at all means, he said. What an idiot.
The U.S. still has operational control of the South Korean military during wartime.
Right. China has urged both Washington and Pyongyang to tone down the rhetoric and stop actions to inflame tensions. Missile testing on North Korea's side and military exercises on the U.S. and South Korean side. China's Global Times newspaper state-run tabloid was scathing of South Korea's decision to proceed with the drills. The drill will definitely provoke Pyongyang more, and Pyongyang is expected to make more and more radical response, it said in an editorial. If South Korea really wants no war on the Korean Peninsula, it should try to stop this military exercise and quickly ally with Chinese and kiss Xi Jinping's feet. That's what this means. There you go, folks. In other news, a rare glimpse in America's super nukes. Hell and fury that can reach North Korea in 30 minutes. Buried deep beneath the Montana soil in America's northwest are 150 giant Minuteman III nuclear missiles locked, loaded, and ready to go. Let's take a look at these missiles.
Up close, it is a sobering reminder of their capabilities. America's current Minuteman III missile is 20 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima more than 70 years ago. It stands taller than a 6-story building, and once fired, it rockets into space before releasing its nuclear warhead. That warhead locks onto its pre-programmed target, can be reached anywhere on the globe within 30 to 40 minutes.
30 to 40 minutes.
Actually, the U.S. could use submarines, nuclear missiles in submarines.
And there you go. That was a
They
little
can destroy North Korea just with submarines.
And if they were to destroy North Korea and destroy them quickly and effectively, it would literally have to be a nuclear attack on all the cities.
Yes.
Because there's no other way. I mean, you're talking about tremendous loss of life. And you have some people, some of the generals saying around Trump, of course, that's on the table. What they're talking about, when they're talking about being able to destroy North Korea very quickly, they're talking about nuclear warfare. Nuclear warfare. So when Moon Jae-in says he's in complete control, shows how weak and pathetic he is. Don't like our rules according to China, then leave. Chinese newspaper says after journal is censored, the censorship in China of hundreds of academic papers from a prominent journal will have little impact because readership is so small. But if Western institutions don't like the way things are done in China, they can leave, the state-run Global Times newspaper said in an editorial on Monday. The editorial appeared after news that Cambridge University Press had blocked access on its site in China to a list of some 300 papers and book reviews from the China Quarterly, and the Chinese government had asked to be removed. CUP said it complied so that the larger body of its academic and educational material could remain available in China. But critics argued that the publisher had undermined the principles of academic freedom and independence and lent its name to China's censorship efforts, which it did. The articles and book reviews touched on subjects deemed sensitive by the Chinese government, including the 1989 pro-democracy demonstrations in Tiananmen Square, the 1965-75 Cultural Revolution, Taiwan, Xinjiang, and Tibet. Western institutions have the freedom to choose. If they don't like the Chinese way, they can stop engaging with us, said the editorial in the Global Times, a nationalistic tabloid under a Communist Party official People's Daily newspaper. If they think China's internet market is so important that they can't miss out, they need to respect China law and adapt to the Chinese way of complete centralized totalitarian power. The Chinese version of the editorial characterized the clash of principles as a contest of power. Time will tell who's right and who's wrong, it said. News about the decision by CUP, the centuries-old publishing arm of Cambridge University, set off a torrent of criticism, including from overseas scholars of Chinese affairs. In an open letter posted on Medium, James Millward, a history professor at Georgetown, said the decision was a craven, shameful, and destructive concession to China's growing censorship regime and a violation of academic independence. The result is misleading, neutered simulacrum of China Quarterly for the China market, he wrote. This is not only disrespectful of CUP's authors, it just demonstrates a repugnant disdain for Chinese readers, for whom CUP apparently deems a watered-down product to be good enough. President Xi Jinping has tightened China's already strict censorship since coming to power in 2012, as he seeks to cement the Communist Party's grip on power. But of course, they say nothing about Mike Zuckerberg completely colluding with the Chinese government. There's no academics saying it demonstrates a repugnant disdain for Chinese people and internet users. That this is resulting in a misleading, neutered simulacrum of China Quarterly for the China market on the internet. None of that criticism is allowed on the papers, because Zuckerberg is working with them to create censorship tools, which then will effectively ban free speech in China, and of course then migrate that to the United States, which he's doing already, banning conservative sites and attacking and flagging and posting warnings warning labels on conservative voices on Facebook. Totally algorithmic filter systems which censor free speech. New York police officers rally in support of Colin Kaepernick. Oh my gosh, give me a break. Look how ridiculous. Doesn't occur in retired officers in the New York Police Department rallied on Saturday morning in support of Colin Kaepernick, the former San Francisco 49 player lionized and reviled for refusing to stand during the national anthem. The gathering in Brooklyn Bridge Park was organized by Sergeant Edwin Raymond and attended by 85 officers who wore black t-shirts emblazoned with "I'm with Cap." Frank Serpico, a former officer who exposed corruption in the New York Police Department in the 1970s, attended. Speakers included City Councilman Jermaine Williams, Democrat of Brooklyn. Linked to backlash against Kaepernick's gesture, no team has signed the quarterback for the season, to the violence last weekend during a white nationalist march in Charlottesville, Virginia, and more generally to issues of police accountability. Kaepernick, 29, stopped standing for the national anthem last season, saying he was protesting violence against minorities, particularly by the police. As a member of law enforcement, we can confirm that the issues he is saying exist in policing and throughout the criminal justice. This is ridiculous. They mentioned there's literally about 200 police fatalities of white cops to black citizens. There's over 4,000 murders, even in just Chicago. 97% are black and black. There's not even mention of that. You're more likely to be shot, but if you're white, by a white officer, because the white officer knows he won't be called a racist if he shoots a crazy white man that's wielding a machete. But if there's a crazy black man that's white wielding a machete, he may be called racist, so they're less likely to shoot. So because you create this racist race identity politics, then the cops are scared to go into the black neighborhoods because they may be called racist for doing law enforcement. And so thus you have a place where the criminals then can roam free. You see how that works?
Yes.
Whereas in the white neighborhoods, they know they're not going to be called racist, so they can actually patrol there. This is self-sabotage by CIA informants like Al Sharpton, like Jesse Jackson, who work for the FBI. Literally as political operatives to create dangerous neighborhoods, to support the continuation of danger in the black neighborhoods so they can control the black vote. They don't want to create safe neighborhoods. They don't want to create neighborhoods that can be free from their clutches and be upwardly mobile so they don't need the political handouts and they don't need the political promises. They're making plenty of success themselves, which the black community was doing before FDR imploded them and Lyndon B. Johnson, the racist, said he's going to trap them so that they vote Democrat by giving them just a little, but little, not enough to make a difference. These people are the white supremacists that rule over the minority communities. The Democrats are the racists. They are the race-baiting identity politics pimps. They are the race beaters. They are the ones that exploit race to gain political advantage. They are the racist party. They are the ones that ran the Ku Klux Klan. They are the ones that did not flip. And they are the ones that continued to run the Ku Klux Klan with the Grand Dragons literary CIA informants that's out in mainstream news in the 80s. Just ridiculous. So ridiculously pathetic. Every day, folks. Every day, every day, every day. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us. See you on the other side.
down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the 44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
We are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheneguk, this Monday, August 21st, 2017. Let's go to Tim for an important report from Singapore. Tim.
Okay, I'm very concerned about the state of our Navy right now because we're really depending on them to help us deal with North Korea. But, last night, 10 sailors are missing and 5 injured after the guided missile destroyer USS John S. McCain collided with a tanker east of Singapore and the Strait of Malacca, the U.S. Navy said late Sunday. Wow. This happened recently off of the coast of Japan, now off of Singapore. Wow. Authorities said 4 of those injured were medically evacuated by a Singapore Navy helicopter. They suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Search and rescue efforts were launched in coordination with local authorities. The Navy said initial reports indicated the warship sustained damage to its port side aft, the left rear of the ship. The previous one in the Fitzgerald was on the starboard side, so this is the opposite side. The collision occurred at 6:24 a.m. Japan Standard Time. I think there's an hour difference, and so this would be 5:24, I guess. There is a massive search and rescue underway involving tugboats out of Singapore and helicopters, and MV-22 Osprey is expected to arrive soon. President Trump, returning to the White House from his work vacation, responded to the word of the collision by saying, "That's too bad." The warship is named after John S. McCain, Sr. and Jr., both admirals in the U.S. Navy, and the grandfather and father, respectively, of the Arizona Senator. Japan, commissioned in 1994, and it was collided with a merchant ship called the Alnick MC, a 60-foot oil and chemical tanker. So the crash came days after the top 3 leaders aboard the USS Fitzgerald were relieved of command. That warship was damaged badly in a collision off the coast of Japan that killed 7 sailors in June. One of its compartments flooded in about 90 seconds. The USS John S. McCain sailed by contested man-made islands in the South China Sea earlier this month, drawing China's strong dissatisfaction. This marked the 4th mishap for U.S. Navy ships in the Pacific since February. Aside from the USS McCain and USS Fitzgerald incidents, the Navy cruiser USS Antietam ran aground, dumping over 1,000 gallons of oil in Tokyo Bay in February. Another cruiser, in May, another cruiser, USS Lake Champlain, hit a South Korean fishing vessel. An active duty Navy officer expressed concern to Fox News over the training of young Navy officers aboard ships. "It's not the same level of training you used to get," the officer said. So unless there's something else going on here, unless somebody has figured out how to jam all the electronic systems of U.S. Navy ships, there's really a concern. We're in a situation where we have to be deeply concerned with the level of our training in the Navy, and it gives you a pretty strong impression that the Navy and perhaps other branches of the military as well are much more worried about being politically correct and doing their transgender sensitivity training and whatever than they are in training their officers how to keep out of the way of oil tankers and fishing vessels and keep their ships from running aground. I mean, that's ridiculous. These are very expensive ships that have a lot of radar and various equipment to tell the officers what's going on all around the ship, so that they can attack an enemy ship if it is in danger or if it is attacked itself. And yet they're bumping into oil tankers all over the place. This is ridiculous. Something I hope that President Trump can do something very quickly about this training situation in the military.
Yes, because more important than learning how to drive those actual huge tankers weighing hundreds of tons, they need their transgender sensitivity training. We wouldn't want to insult anybody. Oh my Lord, we've become such a pathetic joke. We've become so pathetic, it's like people laughing at us. And Trump is finally, getting the pants on and say, "Hey, let's get to work. Let's get up and strong again."
Can I do one more?
Go ahead.
Ron Paul is predicting a 50% stock market.
Oh
plunge.
yes, I wanted to see that. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
He says it was not President Trump's fault. Ron Paul.
Which is true.
Ron Paul's sell-off prediction just got more severe. The former Republican congressman from Texas believes escalating dysfunction in Washington will create even more pain for Wall Street. Quote, "A 50% pullback is conceivable," Paul said on Futures Now recently. Quote, "I don't believe it's 10 years off. I don't even believe it's a year off," unquote. According to his calculations, it would cut the S&P 500 index in half to 1212.
Yep.
And the blue chip Dow Jones Industrial Average would collapse to 10,837. Paul noted that there's been a lot of chaos in Washington right now with an unpredictable president and those who are inclined to tear him apart. But if the market takes that big of a tumble, he doesn't see it as Trump's fault. Quote, "It's all man-made. It's not the fault of Donald Trump in the last week. If the market crashes tomorrow and we have a Great Depression, he didn't do it in 6 months. It took more like 6 or 10 years to cause all these problems that we're facing," unquote, he said. What's more, it would come at the expense of businesses who are counting on reforms such as tax cuts and fewer regulations, according to Paul. Paul, who is also known for his presidential runs, originally made his case for a somewhat more benign 25% downturn on June 29th on Futures Now. He argued Wall Street is overestimating the strength of the economy and the Federal Reserve kept interest rates too low for too long. He said the situation for stocks could turn ugly as soon as October. Stocks will try to bounce back on Monday from multiple losing weeks in a row. The NASDAQ just saw its 4th consecutive week of losses. Meanwhile, the Dow and S&P 500's losing streak now sits at 2 weeks. If Paul's vision is right, the damage is bound to worsen. Quote, I see the foundation of our system built on sand, and a big wind comes along to blow it down, Paul said. I think that's the end of the article. Yeah, that is the end of the article. Yeah. Okay.
There you go. That is really the superstar of Liberty Movement. Mm-hmm. Ron Paul predicting what he's been predicting for many, many, many years, which of course is that this is unsustainable and the quantitative easing that the Federal Reserve does, creating the boom and bust cycles and betting and exploiting the whole market. This is not sustainable. We did a whole article from Breitbart on how the, not GDP, but the money supply and how the money supply is going is the area that one should look at for the health of an economy. And of course, Ron Paul is clearly saying, hey, Trump didn't do it. He didn't create this problem in 6 months. It's 6 to 10 years since the Lehman Brothers crash. Our debt has skyrocketed. The Federal Reserve Bank is what, 60 billion? Now what is it? What is the Federal Reserve's debt? It's a tremendous amount of debt that we are continuing to be in. We're not only dealing with national, federalized, state-run, centralized banks that are now in debt. We're talking about an international crisis at this level. This is not only Lehman Brothers crash level. This is now World Bank level crash. This is serious economic crash that is just on the horizon by some of the top analysts around the world. In other news, Trudeau to asylum seekers crossing border illegally won't fast-track immigration. All those who cross illegal will be subject to Canada's rigorous screening projects, Prime Minister said, even though they can cross in with no barriers at all. Prime Minister and globalist Justin Trudeau has a message for asylum seekers. Crossing illegally doesn't offer an advantage, etc. If I could directly speak to people seeking asylum, I'd like to remind them there's no advantage. Our rules, our principles, and our laws apply to everyone, which is the reason why you're allowing them to break the law and just walk in. Trudeau's comments as the government grapples with the surge in asylum seekers, up 4 times, by the way. In the first 2 weeks of August, more than 3,800 people walked over the border in the province compared to 2,996 who crossed throughout all of July. Speaking prior to Montreal's, it's up 4 times since last year. Montreal's Pride Parade, Trudeau stressed that anyone seeking refugee status will have to go through Canada's rigorous screening process. Well, you've got all those government goodies, all those welfare systems in Canada, and you have an open border because you were against Trump creating borders and trying to protect the American labor pool. So everybody's fleeing into Canada. He said the government is managing an unprecedented flow of predominantly Haitian asylum seekers, and that all of them will be subject to usual security checks and evaluation before obtaining refugee status in Canada. Unlike in the United States, Haitians have no special status in Canada. About half of Haitians seeking refugee status in Canada have been denied in the last couple of years. On Thursday, the federal government announced additional measures to deal with the influx of people. Conservative immigration critic Michel Rempel said Trudeau is downplaying the urgent need to deal with the surge in people crossing the border. They knew it was going to be a problem this summer, and their response has been building tent cities in the U.S.-Canada border, she said in an interview with CBC News. In January, Trudeau tweeted, to those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you, regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength. Rempel said Trudeau's statement was misleading, and said he should make it more explicit that asylum seekers risk being deported to the country of origin if they enter Canada illegally. This is also calling on the government to boost funding for the Immigration and Refugee Board. Those seeking refugee status must have a hearing at the IRB. But even without this summer surge in asylum seekers, there are already backlogs allowing people to stay in Canada while they wait for a hearing. Rempel calls that an incentive for people to cross illegally into Canada and argues increasing funding to the IRB would help curb that incentive. And there you go. In other news, the city has the best quality of life in the world. Hint, it's not in the U.S. According to a study, civil unrest and terrorism of the last year have hurt the scores of many cities that have been imploded by the globalist strategy of the UN. Quality of life in the world's biggest cities is finally improving, although no U.S. city makes #1. Melbourne, Australia ranks as #1 for the 7th consecutive year, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit 10th Annual Global Livability Ranking of 440 cities around the world. It was followed by Vienna, Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, Adelaide, Perth, Auckland, Helsinki, and Hamburg. The first American city to make the ranking was Honolulu. Honolulu? You mean the leftist lunatic state that is completely imploding with drug addiction and violent crime? Followed by Washington, D.C., #20. This is a freaking list of how livable it is. No, this is a list of how centralized these governments are. Give me a break. Go ahead, Tim.
No, our guest is online now.
Oh, okay. Boston, #34. Chicago, Miami, #38. And Pittsburgh, 41. Give me a break. Over the past decade, there's been a European currency crisis, anti-austerity riots, civil wars in Europe and Middle East, a refugee crisis, mounting terror attacks, and most recently civil unrest in the U.S. marked by white supremacist marches. Marked by white supremacist marches? You mean marked by Antifa for the last year, and Kathy Griffin holding up decapitated pictures of Donald Trump, of our president, a duly elected president that's been constantly undermined by the media and constantly waged war upon by these leftist lunatics. What do you mean white supremacist marches? Give me a break. This is ridiculous. The average global livability score fell to 74.8% in 2017, just from 76.1 in 2007. But 12 cities registered improvements in livability compared with just 6 that registered declines, said John Copestake, editor of the survey. I wonder how they do their little global livability average. Each city was assigned a score based on more than 30 quality of life factors across the 5 categories of stability, healthcare, culture and environment, education and infrastructure. So the more public parks and less traffic congestion and higher the quality of public schools, for instance, the higher the score. There you go. However much it's centralized, you'll receive a higher score. The more centralization you have, the higher score you get. The more public schools, public officials, and more government employees you have, the higher your livability score will be. There you go. There it is, completely exposed to show you the total falsity and total subterfuge of such ridiculous polls. Doesn't even deserve to be covered. It's so ridiculous. Give me a break. Best quality of life means centralized, more federal bureaucracy equals better quality of life according to this study. So of course none of the states which have more local control will be in it. We're totally ridiculous. Rigged polling. Elon Musk says, leads 116 experts calling for outright ban of killer robots. Well, why are you making them for the military then? Why are you taking hundreds of millions of dollars of government subsidies to fund your companies? Elon Musk is, for example. He receives hundreds of millions of dollars from the government because he can't create an entrepreneurial business that can actually compete effectively in the free market. He has to rely on government subsidies, on tax-paying individuals, the government stealing money from people to fund his operation. And then he's making all these robots, and because he has all these government contracts, he has to, of course, do secretive constructions and builds for DARPA and different government programs. And now he's saying, oh, yes, we want to outright ban. We want to ban them. We want to ban these AI robots. Well, stop. Why are you, Tesla chief, why are you making them? Why are you making them for these ridiculous, when you know that they're going to be militarized and they're going to be used for killing? We all know that drones will not only be for flying around and getting beautiful shots for, cinematic shots for a movie, or personal home videos or YouTube videos. We all know, anybody with some political awakening knows that they will be militarized and used as military weapons. Because that's what the FBI, CIA, and the State Department has released. By 2025, they want to replace many of the military functions by robotics, That's already been stated in mainstream news. So we know that centralized powers always want officers and or military that do not go against orders. And that's the reason why, of course, why they want more robotics in. Because robots will not say no, whereas human beings with a conscience will say, wait a minute, I don't know if I agree with that order. I don't want to go in there and commit genocide, or I don't want to go in there and just go and take them out because there's no due process. You know, I have a conscience, I believe in the Constitution, etc. I swore my, faithfulness on the Bible, saying, I will defend this republic from enemies foreign and domestic as a public official. That's the oath you're supposed to swear. That's the oath you're supposed to keep. You're supposed to take an oath to defend the Constitution and the republic from enemies foreign and domestic. But that's just become some kind of trope, some kind of ritualistic, liturgical, statement that has no real meaning, no binding, contractual, responsible, moral power now in the hands of these totally out of control bureaucracies that continue to grow day by day and just multiply into a larger and deeper state. Totally ridiculous. We'll take a short break. We'll see you right back on the other side. Stay with us.
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the 44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range.
That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Kahr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Kahr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Kahr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Kahr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit kahr.com today. Kahr Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Kahr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Kahr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Kahr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Kahr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit kahr.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Monday, August 21st, 2017, broadcasting live from the Chenegung Palace to all the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God. We are joined today with Frank Scavo, a lifelong resident of Northeast Pennsylvania. Frank began to develop his keen business sense and work ethic at the age of 10, where he worked day and night with his grandfather. That's so beautiful. Getting back to the bio. When he worked day and night with his grandfather, Frank Sr. at Wilkes-Barre Drive-In. The Scavo family has been involved in many successful private entrepreneurial businesses. Frank's dad, Frank Scavo Jr., owned Francesco's Restaurant in Moosic, Pennsylvania. Independent businesswoman, including Frank's mother, Henrietta, capitalized on opportunity with Lady Vogue Figure Salon, and Frank's wife, Karen's Hair Salon, were huge successes for over 20 years. Frank Scavo attended Old Forge High School and graduated from Keystone University with an associate's degree in business management. Professional development courses include the Dale Carnegie course in human relations and Carus Partners Effective Negotiation courses. Civic duties included 8 years of service as a director and president of the Old Forge School Board. Frank also presided as budget and finance chairman, bringing in the Science Wing Building project on time and on budget with zero corruption, and was contract negotiations chairman during one of our state's longest teacher strikes. Frank has never shunned confrontation on tough decisions. Frank was also chairman of Voice of the People, a grassroots pro-America group which secured the right to gather to express free speech. Wow, what a novel idea. Free speech in these United States. This quickly dwindling away, isn't it? Without permits in the city of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Frank Scavo currently manages LKQ Keystone in Old Forge, Pennsylvania. LKQ Keystone is America's 58th fastest growing company and is proud recipient of the 2009 Pennsylvania Right to Work Ronald Reagan Award. Frank Scavo currently resides in Old Forge with his wife Karen, daughter Sarah Angelina 12, and son Frank 9. Frank's goal is to provide leadership and critical thinking to destroy the paradigm of politics as usual in both our state and federal government with the hope of taking back America. Welcome, Frank, to the King's Report. We were just talking during the break about Charlottesville and the breakdown that's happening, the race-baiting politics of the left, trying to make everything about race, trying to say that the white supremacists are coming out of the woodwork and they're overtaking you and taking on minorities. You should all be scared, and you should just attack randomly white people, and you should, just reported today on Drudge, a Caucasian man stabbed for having the wrong haircut. He had short hair on his side, getting out of his car, and a guy said, "What are you, a white neo-Nazi?" and tried to stab his neck as he got out of a car. I mean, totally insane. Frank, let's hear your take and your breakdown of how what we are as a nation. Where are we going? Look at all this chaos that is starting to bubble up. Your breakdown from Northeast Pennsylvania, Frank. From Northeast.
Well, good morning, Sean, and thanks for having me on the King's Report. It is indeed an honor. You know, the reflection on Antifa and Charlottesville and anything else, as you heard in my bio, you know, I've been holding public, peaceful, planned rallies, which the authorities have somewhat meddled in and made it a little bit difficult to gain permits and to gain permission, which I can tell you this, back in our early days, the Council of Wilkes-Barre, the city council, tried to have us secure permits and get security that was in the thousands of dollars. And we were just 7 people that would most likely get 200 to 300 like-minded people at a peaceful rally. And unbelievably, the ACLU and Vic Walczak helped us to secure helped us secure permission, not even permits, just permission, and not have to go through those exorbitant, you know, costly security measures, which we were 7 volunteers. We didn't have a budget for that. We had a budget of $100. So, you know, at some point, even our foes, which I consider the ACLU a foe, for benefit, because it's all what we're trying to say, and it's what we're trying to say. We're not acting out. We're not in the streets causing riots like Antifa. Antifa is lawless. And one of the points I'd like to make is we, for the most part, are law-abiding citizens. Now, when Antifa goes ahead and bombs our peaceful get-togethers and rallies, well, they're going to force the lawful into lawlessness. And when that happens, they are not going to like the result, because we are committed. We are committed in the principles of the Lord, of Jesus Christ, of the Constitution. Where Antifa, you know, they are just worried that they're missing out on something. Someone's got more money than them. Someone is, you know, going to take away, I won't even say their rights. You know what? Some of these things that really aren't in the mainstream is what they fight for. So when they push us, the American public, to go ahead and confront them, well, this isn't going to be good for any side, because they are not, as evidenced by Charlottesville. Like it or not, those KKK white supremacist faction, the 2 to 3% of the American public that they represent at the most, they did things the right way. They got permission. They assembled. They were nonviolent, but yet they were attacked by the Antifa and those of the George Soros crowd, which I don't give him that much credit. He didn't start this whole thing, but certainly he can go ahead and perpetuate it by funding them. But what they're doing is they're going to break the American citizen, those that are going to fight for this country and Constitution, and it's not going to be a good thing. It may be another civil war.
Wow. No. If you saw, have you seen the Berkeley riots that were literally burning down Berkeley, California, one of the most beautiful places, of course, California, blessed with such beautiful landscapes, etc., but just completely utter chaos with the mayor literally trying to stop a speaker. In that case, it was Milo Yiannopoulos, a libertarian young man who is openly gay, and he's a Republican Trump supporter. But he was trying to just speak at a organization's event there at Berkeley. They banned him from coming, and the whole radical left's view that, oh, you can have free speech, but you can't say anything that disagrees with us, because anything that disagrees with us is called hate speech. So they're re-identifying categories of speech, namely anything that they disagree with, as hate speech, and using that as a trope to say, well, that should be banned. Well, that should be censored. And tell us a little bit about how you gather people to express free speech, because you are standing up as a real classical liberal like Thomas Jefferson, who like Voltaire said, hey, I don't agree with what you say, but I will defend your right to say it. I mean, the left says that they're liberals, but they're not liberals at all. They're complete censoring, totalitarian, control freaks that don't want people to have an opposing view. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, Alexis de Tocqueville, Locke, Voltaire, what Milo Yiannopoulos represents and says. Since when does the liberal media not let a gay man stand up and speak? Oh, it's only when he has a conservative viewpoint. So if this doesn't prove, Sean, that we love almost everyone in the world, here's Milo, and here's my thoughts. Look, I don't care what your persuasion is, as long as you are productive in society, you join with us, you are not a drain on the system. Your social tendencies, really, as long as they're not exhibited in full frontal display, like mine are, you're fine. So for Berkeley and the mayor to go ahead and really make an example of themselves, not so much Milo. Milo is just a surrogate. They are showing that unless you are part of their clique, their clan, unless you subscribe to what they believe in, if they happen to be in charge with their rules and regulations, I think it would be pretty much like a caliphate, where you would not be able to say much and your wealth would be confiscated from you because you didn't believe in what they believe in. So a lot of these ideologies can exist with the constitutional republic, but yet we tolerate them because that is who we are. So, there's a lot of things that the average American needs to look at and first form the premise of, well, as long as you're not yelling fire in a crowded theater, you can say a lot of things, but you can't prevent people from saying them. And then if they act out, and that's the important part here, if they act out like they did in Berkeley, then why is not someone in a fully black ninja outfit that is causing damage to public property that we paid for not immediately arrested? Because we want them arrested, and then this is on their record. So the next time we do it, they can't say, well, this is my first rodeo, it's my first dog and pony show, because now we know this is a subversive. So as for my thoughts on Berkeley, it was just terrible.
These people with 2x4s. Did you see some of the clips? Guys, pull up some of those clips on Berkeley. There were women, lesbian women, that were going to see Milo speak, and they were standing there getting beaten with 2x4s and big poles, and there were people trying to come to rescue. But literally, this is the tolerant left. The tolerant left burning down buildings, burning down trees, smashing windows, beating up lesbians, trying to go see a speaker speak. There's not, and the cops are standing down. The mayor of Berkeley, a total leftist, tells his police force to stand down, and they don't do. They're literally watching there. They're watching from the sidelines, doing nothing, allowing this lawlessness to occur. And the same in Charlottesville. The law enforcement down there was literally standing around. There's now video of them pushing the demonstrators into Antifa with no police protection. It's inevitable that there's going to be a clash, and there's, of course, a tragedy that happened that day. But it looked ridiculous. The more and more camera scenes that are coming out, the more and more video that's coming out. They found that some of the people on CNN that were, I just showed the video this morning, a guy who was supposed to be an accidental witness happens to be the chief of staff of a Democratic politician, and happens to have worked in this Clinton State Department. There's feds all over the place.
I did not see that, and that is unbelievable. Where does the hate come from? This is a hate-driven agenda. But what they really want in the end is they want complete and utter control. They want to confiscate the wealth. Yeah. They want you to be a dependent serf. It's like Hayek said, the road to serfdom. This is this is their plan. I don't give them any cover. I tell you right what it is. They want complete power, and what they'll do is they will disrupt the country and cause American blood to spill. Forget it. Now, I'll let you comment on that, John. What where do you see this headed?
Isn't it? It really is the Maoist, Marxist perspective. The ends justify the means. We will get
centralized at any cost. And basically, I mean, even Plato wrote about it in his Republic. I mean, he was talking about the state should own your children. I mean, how can they in Chicago be having a UN health sciences course that is forced upon public school and public school parents as well, teaching 5- and 6-year-old elementary school age children about sexual organs and different sex positions and masturbation at 5 years old? This is totally insane. Totally insane. And just the fact that conservatives and Christians don't like that and say, hey, that's a little dangerous to be teaching, quote, health sciences like that to children, and we don't agree with that. We want our children to, have an actual childhood. Then you're called a racist, and you're called a homophobe, and you're called an Islamophobe, or you're called whatever, to bully you and intimidate you out of having your own view or having a view that doesn't conform to this platonic, to this really centralist view of controlled economics, controlled governance, etc. It really is against sovereignty, against freedom. I mean, everything that the left is standing up for is against, conscience, free will, you name it, liberty. It's just a slippery slope of unending, perpetual controls, regulations, and in the end, they want to split up the family. They want to split up, husband and wife. They want to create gender dysphoria. They were trying to force transgender and different no-sex bathrooms into, elementary schools under the Obama administration. I mean, this is creating tremendous chaos amongst young people who can't even know that whether or not they're male or female, or they think they can choose based on their feelings, which is not science at all, not biological at all. Biology says you're either male or female, you have XY, XS chromosomes. But there's so much that is hitting the normal person that is over the top, and it's just so in your face, and it's forced upon you as if you don't agree and conform with it, you're the weird one and you're the mentally ill one.
I think that's how the press portrays it, but I'm glad you brought up Chicago. Now, Chicago, you're talking about centralization. Everything is centralized and unionized in Chicago, where over the weekend, 66 people were shot, 3 of them died. Now, how many of those people that perpetrated those shootings do you think were NRA members? Or how many of those guns were registered to legal law-abiding gun owners?
Exactly.
I'd say none, because if not, it'd be major network news on all the PMSNBCs. They'd be saying, "Oh, well, here's this NRA member, and he has just shot a family of 6." So, what we have to be aware of, Sean, is the lie, the narrative. It is truly a lie. But when you just spoke about the family, that there is an attack on the family, and I could tell you this. My family and I have worked. You saw it on my bio, since I'm 10 years old. I have no problem with working. And when they say there's jobs Americans won't do, well, if you're familiar with a drive-in theater back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, you would go to the drive-in with your family, and you would get your cheeseburgers, your French fries, your hot dogs. And when you were done, 90% of those people threw the half-eaten cheeseburger, the garbage, out the window. Now, I'm 10 years old. Here I come the next morning, and I pick garbage. Let me say that again. At 10 years old, I picked garbage off the field with my grandfather, who was in his 60s. Now, here's an old guy working, picking up garbage, and here's his grandson, a young guy, picking up garbage. So when you say there's jobs Americans won't do, I will tell you that Americans will do any job as long as we don't corrupt them and put them on the plantation and give them money for not working. So I take great offense when someone says jobs Americans won't do. But the point I make is the family amasses wealth. We had a family business. I worked in it. My dad, my uncle, and guess what? Yeah, we were paid. And here we are. We have homes and cars that weren't given to us by the government. So you can't look at someone and say, well, you know, they're rich and we want to increase their tax rates. No. What happens is you begin to work and get married. Now you have two people putting into the family budget, into the family income. That's how it's done. It's not done through voting or government largesse.
That's so important because
dynasties and the tax code system, the regulations, all this is set up so that only the elites can have family dynasties, and everybody else in the middle class, their family assets are dispersed, and they're encouraged. They're encouraged. Young people are encouraged. Don't work in your family business. That's, you know, this or that. You have to branch out on your own, move away from your family, split up, you know, move to a different city. You have, you know, and then they depress these economic regions where kids can't find, you know, jobs in the region because everything's going to Amazon now. And then kids have to go to the cities. They're forced into the cities to split from their fathers and mothers, to leave the family farms, the family businesses. And that dynasty is shattered and broken. And then again, the monopolists, only they can continue to pass assets down. They can continue to pass wealth down. They can continue to pass down their dynasties down. But they continually break up the middle class, and they don't want the free markets because it will create a middle class that's vibrant and strong, and family businesses and dads teaching their children, you know, the ins and outs of the job and the restaurant or the business, you know, and pass it down. Because how happy would you be if you're a dad, you made your business, and your son has learned the trade, he's capable, and he appreciates what you did, and he wants to continue the legacy. That's amazing.
Right, and as the parent, you could act as a consultant because your son would come and say, well, Dad, what do you think about this? So you could further grow. But Sean, here's the point. You know, as corporate America Amazonizes, we have a choice. The Americans have a choice. So when I go to a McDonald's and I see the kiosk, or when I go to Lowe's or Walmart or anywhere that has the automated checkout, I don't go to it. I go to the person so they are able to have the job. So we as consumers, we're really the bosses here. And you know what? We abdicate our responsibility because they make it, it's easier for you and you'll save time. Well, wait a minute. As the more people you put out of work, how are you going to support them?
That's what we can do.
Empowering us to realize what we can do, small things that help people stay in work and not get replaced by the automated machines that are coming down the pipeline. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us with more Breakdown with Frank Scavo.
Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology, it's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
And welcome back, kings and queens of the Kingdom of God. I'm your host, Sean Moon, the second king of Chaniugug. This Monday, August 21st, 2017, joined with Frank Scavo. And Frank was, right before the break, was telling us about how we as citizens can empower. We are the bosses. We can make a difference. Sometimes we feel, you know, small and like we can't make a difference, and that's how we're made to feel, but we can make a difference from the micro to the macro. Frank, break that down for us one more time. How do we make a difference with our consumer purchases or our retail purchases, etc.? Elucidate us on that.
Well, Sean, thanks again for having me on the King's Report. I am enjoying myself. I love to talk to people and show how much we do care. So how can we guide and really get the results from our lives in government that we want? Right now, we still have our wealth and our purchasing power. And believe it or not, we are the ball bearings. We're the sand base that everything is built upon, because each individual transaction adds up to one of the largest economic powerhouses the world has ever known, America, the American consumer. So when you go into a store, and you know, we all have our press for time, but when you go into your Walmart, your Kmart, when you go into anywhere where you have a choice between a computerized kiosk, which helps corporate America eliminate their workforce, right? Donald Trump's trying to bring back jobs, and corporate America is what? They're leaving his commission because they just want to go, they want to go computerless or computerized and peopleless. Go to the person, don't go to the kiosk. Wait that extra couple minutes and let the person check you out. That forces corporate America to pay health care for that person. And then they are taxed, so they pay into the taxation fund that we have currently set up. But we can do one thing better, and that's at the local level. You always hear this, but run for office. It's easy. If you need any help, call me. I will help you get elected. The second thing is that I'd like to see happen in my lifetime is to have, and this is more prescient than ever, is to have Washington have the same health care and laws that we do. So I start by asking Congressman Lou Barletta, Congressman Tom Marino, and the other congressmen, because those are my congressmen that I know personally, to go ahead and set up the health care so they get what we get. Not that we're forced to have Obamacare, which, by the way, I thought everybody's supposed to be covered by Obamacare, but you know, as I'm a school board director here in my local school district, the teacher strikes and contract big dollar items are always over healthcare. So where's Obamacare? We're sold a bill of goods, and these guys are bald-faced liars because they said it would cover everyone, and it covers no one that I know. And I'm recently unemployed, so I tried to get on it, and I can't. So where does this work? It doesn't. So as always, your voice needs to be heard locally at the office of your state representative and your federal representative, Congress or Senate. Bob Casey is up for re-election. So these are the guys that will either do your will, do your bidding for the hardworking American citizen, or they need to be put back into the workforce like us and be punished, because I see our regulations and taxation as compulsory and punitive.
Right, punitive.
It would be so great if even also congressmen and senators had time restrictions. They couldn't be, you know, lifetime politicians, but they had, you know, end of terms. They had term limits that they would prohibit them from being a senator or congressman for like 50, 60 years. I mean, this is ridiculous. You see what happened with Senator McCain blocking Obamacare, the repeal. I mean, how ridiculous is that? He's been running for the last 7, 8 years saying that he's gonna get rid of Obamacare for his Arizona constituents, you know, bringing up sob stories of how people are being totally swindled, their prices are up, they're losing their doctors, everything that Obama said was completely flipped around. You know, the opposite. He said you could keep your doctor, you couldn't. He said the price would go down, it went up 3 times. I mean, and then he's crying about that for the last 8 years. And then he has the swing, but he has the vote. He has the vote, and then he votes to destroy the repeal. I mean, what was your take on that?
Then he votes the repeal. I mean, what do you?
Well, Sean, you know what? when it comes down to parties, it seems like a great ground shift here. We had 60,000 Democrats switch to vote for Donald Trump. Subvert President Trump because he's too much of a personal agenda and his ego. You think Trump's ego is big? John McCain's ego is big, and you know what? He did it all on the back of the taxpayer. At least Donald Trump has a hotel. If you, whereas on the other hand, I have to pay for John McCain's health care. Why? Because he's part of this government oligarchy, and he is one of the guys, as a Republican, that I say should be voted out. Oh, that Republican should be voted out of office by Republicans and Democrats alike, and either A, give a new guy a chance, or B, get someone that's more connected to the people, because he is truly disconnected. And I met him when he ran for president up at the University of Scranton, and he didn't know me, and he was, for some reason, all alone standing next to a wall waiting to speak, and I went over to talk to him. And he was one of the most miserable, inconsiderate, unkind, egotistical. I was just like blown away that if he's looking for votes, he wouldn't even smile and say, "Nice to meet you." He was a bum.
So sad, because these Republicans have been promising that they're going to get rid of Obamacare, they're going to balance the budget, they're going to shrink the size of government, and all we've got is the same thing that the leftists bring. We just got increasing debt, we have increasing size of the bureaucracy, the deep state. I mean, it's like Roger Stone calls it, the two-party duopoly. You don't know, it's like pro wrestling. It seems sometimes like they're just out there making a charade, but they continue to do the same thing. And we found out this year, that was reported on Breitbart News, that Paul Ryan and different Republicans, Mitch McConnell, receiving money from George Soros executives and different type of high-level Democratic funders. So it's like, this is like, that's why people are getting frustrated and they voted for Trump. They wanted change.
Julian Assange. Now, I will tell you this, during the election, I donated to WikiLeaks. I bought the boys in the basement some pizza and some sodas. So
you are such a patriot, Frank.
Well, thank you, Sean. But I have just seen where WikiLeaks is now dumping, and I like it when they dump on both. I like to know the inside on the Republican. I like to know the Democrat, the Independent, whatever it is, because the truth shall set you free. And you're right about both sides and the duopoly. So when WikiLeaks is saying that they have just dumped, where they have showing Ryan and how they're going with the anti-Trump message during the campaign, these guys were elected to do our bidding and our will, and they're not. So it's time to really get rid of them and to tell them that we know. Listen, we know the game. Your gig is up, and we're gonna work to put you out of there. And it's easier for the Democrats to promise largesse. We have a $21 trillion overspend that our children, our grandchildren, my son, listen, they're not going to be able to take a trip to across the country because they'll have no disposable income. The confiscatory tax rates are going to be like 90%. So it's terrible.
Wow. I mean, look at the America that's being created. That's being
left to our children. And it never gets better if we just stand idly by and do nothing. There's the old saying that says, evil gets to succeed in this world, not because evil is so powerful, but because good people stand idly by. And it's like the American people have been sleeping. The sleeping giant has been sleeping. But now people are starting to wake up and they're starting to get politically active. But right as they're doing that, there's all this divide and conquer strategy. They're trying to make the race riots, trying to do race identity politics. Do you think the left's insistence on trying to create civil war, naming everybody who supported Donald Trump as a white supremacist, even if you're not white, I mean, it's just so insane. literally trying to divide and demonize anybody who supported the president. Pastor Brown, one of the big evangelical preacher who's in the prayer circle with Donald Trump, was told by a congressional speaker that, you know, the deep state is literally out to get rid of the president. That is to completely, you know, take him out within the next 2 months. And he said that during a public church service. And now he's trying to sound the alert that even President Trump's life is in danger. I mean, you had Deputy Director Mudd of the FBI, former Deputy Director, come out on CNN saying the government's going to kill this guy. That's a quote. How can they get away with speaking like this about a duly elected president? I mean, Sean Hannity is now saying this is a clear and present danger to this republic.
I'm impressed with your knowledge, Sean. You really follow this. You're updating me on a few tidbits that not even I'm aware of, and I'm a follower of the Drudge Report and everybody else on the social media. So that's what I'm saying. If they're going to force us into a corner, for those of you familiar with the words 3% and 3%er, that means we're willing to go ahead and take the risk and make sure that our constitutional republic survives. And that probably means all means. So, you know, it may come to a point where we have to leave our homes and our farms and our offices and go to Washington. And, you know, who knows what happens from there. I would certainly hope that we're all able to return home. But someday that may not be the case if we don't use the laws in this constitutional republic to ensure free speech, but also to apprehend those that are not advocating free speech and who are acting out violently. Because, you know, threatening the president's life, we just saw where this Missouri state senator said the unspeakable. Now, listen, I believe they said it during George Bush's presidency, but this has gone too far because it's too often. And it's building a surge. You know, we talked about the surges against the Taliban and the Islamic jihadists. Well, these guys want to do a surge against the duly elected president, which I'm here to tell you, your surge isn't going to work. It's not. And I'll be there to make sure your surge doesn't work. So, you know, when it comes to that, those are some pretty strong words, but I don't expect everyone in America to feel this way. I don't expect everyone in America to act in defense of America because they take it for granted. And, you know, I won't say that they don't deserve it. Look, it is what it is. But when it comes to defending it, the 3% will rise again.
Spoken by a true patriot.
Take a short break. We'll see you right back with more breakdown with Frank and his incredible breakdown of what is going down in America and how we can stand. We don't want anything to go full hot as they're trying to bring it hot. We're winning the ideological battle. We're winning the info battle. We're winning on the information front. But again, they keep pushing it more violent, more violent, more violent. People have to defend themselves, obviously, at some point. And we pray that Washington can change and can modify its behavior and get rid of the deep state and preserve the life of the president and his work that he's trying to do so desperately with a deep state that's trying to sabotage him on every front. Everything he's doing is trying to get to sabotage. But there's so much going on. But the patriots have to stay alert, have to be awake, they have to be healthy, focused. We pray for all of you. And we'll be right back after this break with more with Frank Scavo. Stay with us.
And there were chains around us. By your grace we are no longer bound, no longer bound. You called me out of the grave, you called me into the light, you called my name and then my heart came alive.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry, Kahr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Kahr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit kahr.com today.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Chunni Palace to all the kings and queens of the Kingdom of God. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, the second king of Chunni here with Frank Scavo. My goodness, it's like an incredible red pill morning this day. And anybody watching the broadcast, you must be just jumping with joy to see another patriot and, of course, see another brilliant man, entrepreneur, businessman, dad, son, grandson, just tremendous patriot Frank Scavo, breaking down how the left can ally with some of the most radical forms, radical political ideologies, and allow this culture where Americans don't have rights. If you have Christian values, you're bad, you're intolerant, yet the feminists and all these liberal institutions are supporting some of the most radical ideologies, some of the most misogynistic ideologies on the planet, like radical Islam, which is Saudi-backed, female genital mutilation, mainstream in Saudi Arabia. The fact that the Prophet Muhammad had a 6-year-old child bride whom he was having sex with at 9 years old, which is the reason why child marriage is okay. Even when I was at Harvard, there was a student doing a paper on the road to Mecca, and that prostitution is, there's brothels on the road to Mecca, and pilgrims will do what is called a temporary marriage. When they have the sexual urge, they'll go into the brothel, they'll marry the woman legally under Sharia law, marry the woman, and then after the sex episode, they will divorce her legally. And this is okay. This is okay. This is supposed to be women's rights and protecting women. And like Linda Sarsour, the radical leftist who is leading, many of these women's marches, says this is Sharia law is the most pro-feminist law in the world. I mean, how much disinformation can the American public consume without starting to say, hey, I don't know if this is true, and question this crazy narrative? Frank.
It is so... You had a little drop out there, Sean. It is so crazy for that ideology to be tolerated anywhere. You want to practice a religion, that's fine. But that is a complete political, it's complete with courts, it's complete with taxation, it's complete with defense. So it is meant to replace anything, including the United States Constitution, military, representative form of government. So you're playing with fire out there with this, once again, if it's a religion, maybe, praying somewhere, if somebody is making the sign of the cross, and they're in a restaurant and they're saying prayer and holding hands, you're going to look at that and some people are going to be highly offended. But when the Muslims come, you're going to be called to prayer. You're going to hear that 6 times a day. You're going to have your prayer rug. And if you don't think religion is going to be part of your life, then you will lose your head over it.
Oh, this is the thing. If you become apostate, that's also legal by Sharia law to kill you.
I'm an apostate. That's the way it's going to be. Professed apostate.
Even in the UK,
which is of course just letting the migrants from very radicalized areas pour in, and of course everybody wants to see, everybody who has Christian values wants to help the needy, wants to help the poor, but we don't want to do it through the government, because Jesus taught private charity. We want to do it where we can help directly the person, where we can know we're making a difference, not give it to some bureaucrats, which then 76%, Dan Johnson was on the show the other day, giving us a tax breakdown, 76% of the taxpayers' money to, quote, government charities is eaten up by the bureaucrats. 76%!
It's just, and listen, that's why I said, we're in charge here. We have to start electing the people. Get rid of McCain. Get rid of Casey. If this is going on with the people that are in there, out you go. It's time to go. But a very good point that you had made earlier, when you had Christian immigration, Christian refugees, they weren't allowed into America. 90% of the population from Libya and our latest one, which was the President Assad. That's
Syria, yeah.
Syria, right. Escaped me for a moment. From Syria, listen, the Christians the Yazidi Christians were being driven off mountainsides, raped, just left to die in desolate deserts. And where was the United States in helping them? They're not the aggressor. They were the victims. And what did the United States do? Hillary Clinton, thank God we dodged that bullet, because she wanted 600,000 more Muslim refugees. It's the Yazidi Christians that needed help. The Muslim refugees should stay in their own country, fight for their brand, fight for their caliphate, and not be allowed here where they will become the fifth hollow. So it's amazing.
It's absolutely incredible.
And why not allow people who are immigrating that have similar civilizations and don't have clashing civilizations, like Sharia law clashes with freedom, sovereignty, private property, the right to defend yourself and your property, a right to free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press. It clashes with them. Why don't people from Christian backgrounds or different society, even Buddhist backgrounds, fine, but cultures that don't clash with the existing democratic free market society? If you bring in people that are coming in from war-torn countries, many times because of the federal bureaucracies that are there, then they're pouring in, bringing Sharia law, bringing some of the most misogynistic forms of control. You're going to have a clash at some point. No-go zones in Europe.
I recently went to Paris over the summer.
Oh, did you? My God, you're a brave man.
And it was on the 4th of July. And listen, I'm not comfortable with Paris security. I was in Italy, also in Rome, and much more serious security in Rome. But let me leave you with this. In Paris, why weren't the no-go zones or any of those Muslim neighborhoods on the tour route? Why didn't they take me to see those? They took me to see the Eiffel Tower. They took me to see the Louvre. Why didn't we go into those bastions of culture and acceptance? And Frank, come and see this. Reason being, culture. I'm not of their ilk. And I would probably be stoned or beaten or something else if I went into those areas as a Christian. So, you just better be careful, because just because you don't see it and have an experience doesn't mean that it's in your backyard and coming your way.
Europe is now encountering a terrorist attack literally every week. Every week, somebody is being bombed, murdered, run over by a car, by somebody who's screaming Allahu Akbar, and who in the news does not even report that this is a jihadi, and that his motivation is, in the ideology that he's supporting. You're not even able to say that.
That they're also on their welfare system, so they're also trying to kill the people that are supporting them, because if you have a job, you don't have time for this. Isn't that amazing?
Oh my goodness, goodness, goodness. What a crazy morning, but a tremendous red pill morning. Hey, folks, what a beautiful interview. Frank, this is probably one of our best interviews. We're
Thanks,
so
John.
thankful you joined us this morning. What a blast it has been. What an incredible hour.
Whiz by like that, my goodness. There you go, folks. Thank you for joining us today on our 3-hour broadcast. We thank Frank for joining us so much. He is a tremendous patriot, entrepreneur. Tell our viewers where they can support you, any of the work that you're doing. Let us know how we can help any of the political work that you're doing. Go ahead, share that with us, Frank.
Well, you know what? The best way to get in contact with me is on Facebook. I am on Facebook. It's very simple. 10 letters. Frank, 5 letters. Scavo, S-C-A-V-O, 5 letters. So that's 10 letters. Message me on Facebook. And in the future, unless everybody straightens it out, I will be running for a higher office again. So thank you for having me. The King's Report is wonderful. Thanks, Sean.
In Washington, or at least in the local state level, we absolutely need patriots like you, Frank. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great to see you, man. Awesome to see you. We got to get some
thanks, Sean.
Indian food next time.
Yep, amen.
Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
God bless.
Thank you for joining us this morning on the King's Report. We thank you for all the wonderful prayers that you are praying for our president and also for our country and also for the ministry, etc. We are praying for you. Please be praying for the president, for the United States, for your country. We want peace, but peace not through totalitarianism and communism and political Satanism, but peace based on God. That is where peace begins, with Jesus Christ himself and our relationship to God, our Creator. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We pray every day, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp on the King's Report. God bless, Godspeed, and may his kingdom come.
Explode.